Buckle up, time travelers. Blast through the past, rocket to the future, and hang on tight as you chase the clock in the ultimate adventure. It's fast, it's furious, and it's only at Universal Studios Orlando. Back to the future. Something's wrong with those kids.
They're watching us.
In the happiest place on earth, nobody's smiling.
Why won't they leave?
This fall,
The kids run the park.
not anymore.
This ride was open last week.
Why are they tearing everything down? It doesn't make sense.
They think closing the rides will stop it. They're wrong.
Stop the video! Did you see that?
Good evening. A new mouse-shaped popcorn bucket sent a local theme park into turmoil tonight when fervent collectors turned the release into a near riot. Security was called in as tempers boiled.
Hopefully everyone is ready for a great live stream that's almost as great as my paintings. We'll just make a few more happy little clouds together.
Hello, neighbor. Welcome to the live stream. I'm so glad you're here with us tonight. You know, it makes me happy to think that each one of you is my neighbor, wherever you may be. Let's have a wonderful show together.
We're live. Hello. Hope everybody liked that little intro. I was wanting to do something. I ran out of time and I just threw a whole bunch of stuff at Sora, and apparently you can do lots of Mr. Rogers things, as well as Macho Man. Macho Man he didn't make the cut, but there are some good Macho Mans that perhaps will show up in the future. But I like the idea of doing some sort of mashup to start off the show. Get a little, a little ease into the live stream a little bit.
You know what I'm saying? I love that. I love that. I've actually seen a lot of Tupac on my Instagram feed. AI Tupac. That's been pretty funny too. I don't know if you've seen some of those.
I may have had a Tupac one. He didn't make a cut. I told him to do a rap about theme parks, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense. He was also on a beach. I don't know why. Like it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. I don't think
that's where people rap. You don't know that?
I listen. It's been a while since I've been into the hip hop world, but I didn't know if beaches were the normal thing that you can do. But hopefully everybody's having a great Friday night. It is. I am enjoying. I don't know about. Well, I'm assuming Slimer's the same way. I am enjoying the weather right now in Florida. It is.
Oh yeah.
So fantastic. Like I just, it's like maybe 68 degrees right now. I could just sit outside all day. But we're going to have a good time here. We got some stories we're going to go over, of course, hanging out with the crew here. So before we get going, just want to introduce everybody. We got Orange Grove 55 and his amazing hair. He's going to have to give a hair tutorial one of these days on how he does it, but it always looks great. Thank you for being here. Where can everybody find you and all your good stuff on the internet?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you, Jared. Always a fantastic host here at the Theme Parking Show that we do over here on both channels. Yeah, you can find me right here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55, talking theme parks with these fine gentlemen, studio, movies, corporate talk, all that good stuff. I mean, we even get into crazy stuff like the pyramids and aliens. We dive into everything here, so it's a lot of fun. You can also find me on Instagram, Orange Grove 55.
There you go. There, and I forgot yours as well. It's dual streaming also on Orange Grove 55 as well, of course. And then we are joined by Mr. Slime Square himself, Mr. AI parody expert, which I many times. You had one the other day about. What did you have one? I liked it. I can't remember if I retweeted it or not, but I can't remember what it was, but it was really good. It's something about the theme. What was your last one you had?
Was it about soaring over America?
Yes, that's what it was. America? Yeah.
Yeah, something along the lines of like soaring across America, now featuring a 40-foot view of the national debt.
Yeah, that's right.
That's great.
But we're joined by Slimer. So Slimer, thank you for being here. And where can everybody find you?
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate these theme parking conversations. My wife went to go have dinner with one of her work friends. I said, you know what? Theme parking time. So here we are. Thanks for joining me, boys. You can find me on X at SlimeSquare84. You can find me on Instagram at SlimeSquare84. And you can find me with Jared and Orange Grove 55 on CapTheMagic and Orange Grove 55. Pretty easy to find, guys. Go find it. Go sub.
Go there and sub it. It's good stuff. And we'll say hi to the chat here. We got Eric Stratton said, looking forward to the live stream. Thank you for being here. We got Kika and Luca. Says, let's go. We got you ate my burgers. I didn't eat your burgers, but somebody did. Storybook Sorceress. Hello. Let's see. We got Matt Muir. What's up? Kika said, let's see. Somebody said something about OG's skincare. Let's see.
Kika
Luca said OG has that Korean skin product. His skin is so shiny. But then
absolutely
also says Slimer and Jared looking sexy as well. Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
No, we are 3 sexy dudes. I gotta say.
Listen, I'm a little biased, but I like to think so.
Yeah.
I don't immediately just hate what I see all the time. And then James All Day TV says, "What's up? What is up, everybody?
What's up? What's up? What's up?"
So we're gonna hit a few topics and probably, as typically goes, get into some random stuff. But I always enjoy these. I feel like we balance it out with good discussions by maybe some random nonsense pops up. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But first one we're going to talk about is the 2024 theme park attendance numbers came out. And mind you, again, this is 2024. So this is last year's numbers. So essentially, this is from Blog Mickey. 2024 numbers here. Modest gains at Disney World and downturn continues at Universal Orlando. And I do have a chart I made that kind of gives a visualization of like since 2010 we can take a look at. But in 2024, I'm just going to go down to the gains here. Let's see. Magic Kingdom had 17.84 million, which was a 0.7% increase in attendance. Epcot had 12.13 million. They were up the most at 1.3%. Hollywood Studios had 10.33 million, up 0.3%. And Animal Kingdom was 8.8 million, up 0.3%. And then, as was expected, Universal saw a downturn given, I mean, at least to me, I was expecting it. I don't know about you guys, with Epic Universe going to open that next year. Universal Studios was down, or they had 9.5 million. They were down 2.6%. And Islands of Adventure had 9.45 million, and they were down 5.5%. So Islands of Adventure took a bigger hit overall. Does anything surprise you guys about that? Or
well, I have a question for you guys, because after the pandy, right after the lockdowns, I know we were locked down a lot longer out here in California than you guys were out there in Florida, but after the pandy, I feel like for a couple of years or a few years after everything kind of started getting back on track, like 2001, 2002, Universal kind of went through like a surge. Like I felt like Universal was more en vogue, more like it was more attractive. I feel like a lot of the Disney, the new Disney stuff that they were kind of introducing kind of turned a lot of people off, right, during that era, and Universal was sort of surging. Do you think these 2004 numbers, the dip, is in part, because of that? Like, because I think they kind of they went so high right after the pandy, and then it's kind of like coming back down to earth a little bit? Or do you think this is more Epic Universe preparation, where people are like, you know what, the new park's opening in the next year, let's just wait? Or it's a little bit of both? What do you think?
I kind of think it's a little bit of both, because you also had Revenge Travel, and as that declined, as well as you add in, you got a new park opening within, especially once you get to like 1 to 2 years out from something big opening. I think in the short term, you always were going to run that risk of people waiting to go, because if you're going to drop all the money that you're going to spend on a vacation, it makes sense to be like, well, let's just wait until this stuff is done, then we'll go, which I think is also something that happened at Disney with all the stuff they're building as well. But I think it could be those two things combined. But I'm not really good at predicting numbers, but I was expecting Universal to be down simply because Epic was going to open that next year. And so I think a lot of, at least in Orlando for Universal, it was a lot of APs that were going. I mean, you had DreamWorks Land open, but that didn't have a lot of budget. You had Villains Con open, but for the most part, all the money and effort was going into Epic. And so they didn't have really anything new on top of that too. And I think that's probably what, at least in my opinion, why those numbers are down.
Well, and another thing too that we have to also consider, even 2025's numbers aren't really going to give us a good snapshot, or I shouldn't say snapshot, a good big picture of the Epic Universe impact, because Epic Universe, they were dealing with attendance caps. Universal was capping the attendance for the first, and it didn't even open until May. Officially.
Well, and they're still capping the attendance there. I mean, I did the math. I think the most you will see from Epic Universe, and they're not going to make that top 10 list in 2025. The most you'll see from Epic at this point, my guess is somewhere maybe north of 3 million guests for Epic. But I do think you're going to see that bump up the Universal other parks. I think they are going to see an uptick in the attendance there off of it. But I don't think you see Epic pop up into that list. I mean, 2027, 2028, maybe. It just really depends on where they can get the park capacity at, because you're not going to break any attendance records having less than 20,000 people in your park. And that's what we're currently at.
Right. And this park is really like it was always going to be a long-term thing.
Yeah.
Like whenever you have a new park introduced into the equation, that's an investment for the future, essentially. You know what I'm saying? So you might have some short-term pain a little bit, you know, the growing pains, the new thing or whatever, but long-term, it's going to pan out and pay off for them, I think, you know?
I agree. Slimer, what do you think?
And well, listen, looking at these numbers here, because I'd been looking at them this morning, you know, what's really interesting is that Universal Studios, the original park, was actually able to stave off a lower dip in attendance than Islands of Adventure. Now, you wouldn't think that'd be the case because Islands of Adventure is the newer park. It's got some of the bigger IP like Jurassic Park. It's got the new-ish Velocicoaster and Hagrid's. But Halloween Horror Nights, you know, pulls through, and so did the summer movie Mega Parade. So those things kept the attendance from dropping by a little bit over 50% when compared to Islands of Adventure. Now, what I wish we could see, just so we can like dig into a little bit more of these details, is like what quarter were these attendances started to drop? Because you can go back and you can look at the shareholder meetings, and it can tell you, profit numbers. They can tell you how they were doing, quarter over quarter in terms of profitability. But in terms of attendance, unfortunately, we don't have access to that information. But what we do know is that in the second quarter of this year, profit was still down 5.2% year over year from 2024. But then once you go into quarter three, once Epic Universe is opened, boom, the profits actually went up 19% for Universal Studios. So even though we're not looking at like hard attendance numbers, and as Storybook Sources says here, 5% for Iowa is a lot. 5% is a lot. And remember, that's compounded because they actually went down in 2023 as well. So there is a strong demand for Epic Universe, and Jared actually has been talking about this on his channel for like 2 years now because he actually covered this very extensively. But the pause on attendance for Epic Universe, I think, is the cause of the dip. And we know this why? Because profit went up 19% in quarter two. So while we're not looking at attendance numbers, we still have hard data telling us that that's like the correlation is so strong. You could just say this is what's happening.
Well, and in Florida, you guys have a much more of a tourism driven market out there, right? Like in California, that might not necessarily be the case when we have new things on the horizon because we have a lot of locals who can pop in, pop out at any given time. Really, they're not planning this stuff out a year or two in advance. Where in Florida, when these families are coming from all over the world sometimes, right? So you're planning out your vacation, and if you're like, well, we're going to go to Orlando, do we want to do it in 2024 when we can just wait a year and we can get the new park included in that whole thing? So it does make sense,
Yeah, and I agree with Slimer. I would like to be able to see quarter by quarter, and I am very curious how they get these numbers because Universal nor Disney released them, so they have some sort of metric they use, but it is considered the gold standard when it comes to theme park attendance numbers. But yeah, I think a quarter by quarter would be interesting because with 2025, I think what you would likely see, and we won't be able to know this unless we, other than revenues, like you were saying, is obviously Epic's had a so far positive impact. I think this next earnings report is going to be very interesting because I think there's going to be another one that's going to go up quite a bit for Universal. But how is Disney faring? And I think that's going to be the thing of like, that's been the big question about what would the impact be. But yeah, in terms of like looking at them next year, I'm going to assume Universal is going to be up. I don't know how much. Like I said, I'm bad at percentages. I mean, I would assume you might be looking at 5% up at least. And then I think with Disney, you could see them fall off a bit. And I think that could be the challenge too, because it's the same thing with Epic Universe construction and waiting on that. Disney's going to have active construction going on for many years in the parks. And that's going to be an active impedance on people. Currently Epic Universe wasn't messing with people's days at Universal because it was being built off site somewhere else. Whereas all this construction going on now, you're going to have to deal with it when you go to the parks, on top of people just being like, why don't we just wait till this stuff's done and then go? And I think that's going to be their challenge in the next little bit.
Absolutely. And then Remedy brings up an interesting point here with Universal Studios Hollywood dropping almost 10%. I think Remy, this is in regards to the Super Nintendo World hype kind of coming back down to earth a little bit. Like, because that land opened, I think, in 2023. Now, this is a year later. It's probably that, in my opinion. It's probably because everyone was going, they had, for the Super Mario stuff in 2023. And then 2024, that was kind of dying down. So they saw a dip. That's just my guess, but I don't know.
No, I think you're right, because I think attendance actually did go up like 10%. It was almost double digits, if not over double digits, for when Super Mario will do. And now remember, this happens all the time, right? So it happened to Hollywood Studios with the Open Rise of the Resistance. Animal Kingdom was seeing attendance like 11, 12, 13 million when Pandora opened, and now it's down below 9 million. So
Animal Kingdom was the number 2 park in 2019.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the crazy thing. And let's see if I can get the chart. I don't know if I can get the chart up here. Let me see if I can find this chart. If I can bring it up on my other screen. Yeah, here we go. I got this trusty chart made up here. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So the top one here, this is Magic Kingdom, obviously. And you'd also see, too, where Disney doesn't care about attendance as much, because this is when everything changed, and they haven't, they didn't get back their attendance numbers from 2019, but that's, they've monetized a lot of areas of the parks. The blue line here is Epcot. The yellow line is Animal Kingdom. The green line is Hollywood Studios. And then the blue line here is Universal Studios. And then the orange here, or the dark orange, is Islands of Adventure. So you can see here, after it opens, Universal, they were making headway up until 2019. They were closing the gap. And then they kind of went above 21, 22. And then you saw Epcot take, kind of become the second park, and then this is where Animal Kingdom was, and they're all the way down here, which I think Animal Kingdom is going to struggle mightily in the next couple of years. But that's kind of where it flushes out. So Universal's kind of at their 2018-ish numbers overall, you could say, depending on, well, except for the studios, like they haven't quite caught up there, but that's kind of where it stands now. And then next year is going to be very interesting to see if there's any tail off. Like, I don't think Magic Kingdom really gets hit, if I were to guess. But I think the other Disney parks are the ones that could really be affected by, Epic coming online, if I were to take a guess at that.
Yeah, and Rogue Attraction brings up an interesting observation. The fact that Animal Kingdom and Universal are so close to each other shocks me. I mean, that is pretty shocking. I've always been surprised at how close California Adventure and IOA are every year. They're not too far in attendance, and that always surprised me, because I always felt like IOA is a much more of a full park. I don't know. DCA still seems like there's not a whole lot, in terms of e-tickets and what have you. So that's always surprised me as well.
Compared to IOA?
Now I haven't been to IOA, but based on what I've seen, now what do you think? Am I wrong, Slimer?
Prepare to be disappointed then.
Uh-oh.
Because I think, honestly, I think the DCA and IOA are pretty much on par in terms of their attraction offerings and entertainment.
Well,
wow, that's wild.
And I think if you look at, too, with Universal, like, obviously this is why they've announced the new things that they're building. Rip Ride Rocket replacement, something's happening in Lost Continent, is because they know these numbers before we've even seen them. And if you go to Epic first, then you go to other parks, like, there is a drop off in the level of, just the parks. They're older parks. So I think this is where their game plan here is Epic's going to pull things up, and while they do that, then they build new things in the existing parks, because there's a lot of areas of the existing parks of Studios and Islands of Adventure that are underutilized, you could say the least, that you can bring up.
Well, and here's the other thing too about bringing Epic Universe into the mix. Like, they're shuffling the cards, right? So while Universal and IOA are getting 9 and 10 million attendees per year, that could drop relative to the amount of attendance that Epic Universe maximizes at in, let's say, 2, 3, or 4 years from now, which might end up being a combined overall increase in attendance for Universal parks when you factor in Epic Universe's attendance when they finally reach their 100% capacity. But it might also mean that Universal takes a little bit of a dip, and so does Islands of Adventure, at least until they inject another. We were having a conversation about this, Jared, but anywhere between $2 to $4 billion across the other two parks within the next couple of years. But the shuffling of the deck is definitely going to be interesting to see what happens with attendance, because again, Epic Universe is strategically going to be their castle park, if you will. So that's the one that's going to bring in the the 12 to 14, 16 million attendees per year. And then what that means for the other two parks, I think really just depends on what their strategic approach is in terms of investment and whether or not Universal Studios can hit that kind of an attendance cap, considering, with all things considered, the Disney effect, Orlando, inflation, the amount, what does that look like? We really don't know. And again, Disney hasn't built out what they're doing in Magic Kingdom and in Hollywood Studios and the new attractions that are coming to Animal Kingdom. So what that attendance cap looks like, I have no idea. And also, this is another good point I think you brought up. They're not necessarily looking at attendance in Epic Universe because they're capped. They're looking at probably revenue per guest spending, if I had to guess right now. And like you said, they're happy with the numbers.
And they have said that the per guest spending is up since Epic's open. They have I talked to a couple employees that told me that, and then they even said in their earnings call that they are seeing an increase in that. So if they can maximize, kind of like what Disney does, people spending more as they come in, it doesn't take as much of a hit, especially in the short term when they don't have Epic at the cap they want it at. So I think that's where they're kind of, it's funny, Epic's kind of the same boat as Disney, whereas they don't care much about the attendance as they do like the revenue impact. And this is also why they did the ticketing packages the way they did too, is limiting you one day at Epic and having to go to the other parks. So they're helping to push those up, which I think it probably will end up paying off.
Yeah, I think these theme park companies, Disney and Universal, they're definitely looking more at the revenue side of things and focusing less on attendance. I think that's the game plan. Yeah, it is smart. It is smart, 100%. And
it's smart, especially if you want to distinguish yourself as a premium brand compared to all the other theme park offerings out there. Because the regional park experience, for better or worse, it's growing, it's shrinking, it's changing. But the one thing that's staying the same is that it's value. And so they're going to have to become more and more premium. And unfortunately, that's just the name of the game, right? I mean, you can have, we've had this conversation before. You can either increase supply or you can lower the demand. And they can lower the demand faster than they can increase the supply because it takes time to build out these attractions and they need the cash and they need the investments. And I mean, look, Universal Studios, I mean, they just built a park and cumulatively last year, they lost over 8% in attendance. So how are they going to react to that? Well, it's going to take 3 to 4 years to bounce back from that.
Yeah. Well, and it also goes to their cadence. They had mentioned before that they want a new ride open every single year, and it got interrupted with Epic because obviously you put all the money into that. But I think if they get back on that cadence of a new attraction every year, even post Epic, that I think would be something you would, you're not going to, like you were saying, something comes online, then you see the drop off. Same with the Animal Kingdom. You saw the same thing. So if you're able to, as those things fall off and then get another bump, and I think that's where you see that cumulative effect, almost like compound interest on a stock or your investments. Like that's where, and I think that is where they're looking. And everybody that I've talked to, I know a couple of people that are like up in management. They even say like the goal of Universal is very like long view on this stuff. Like they're not, I don't think they're necessarily I don't think they saw this report. First off, I don't think any of this shocked them. I'm sure they already know these numbers, but I get the idea that they're in the long game for this, like 10 years, 15 years down the road, which is why you wouldn't invest $8 billion into a park if you weren't. So I think that I think the next 5 years will be interesting to see what's the short-term impact of Epic. And then really what is like, where does it end up once you would say this park's at full power? Like, is it at the same level attendance-wise at Magic Kingdom? Like, that'll be very interesting. But also Disneyland was number 2, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Well, and it wasn't a distant number 2. I mean, it was like this close,
If there's any drop-off at Magic Kingdom, I mean, Disneyland might be number 1 next year.
Well, I think that's actually going to be the case. And I'll tell you why, because tourism was actually up in attendance 2.3% last year. So tourists are coming to Anaheim, but not so much to Universal Hollywood. And so that's making Disneyland look good and Universal look bad.
I think it's thanks to Kendrick Lamar, all that West Coast love. Everyone's in the mood for California right now.
It's all Kendrick. I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to look at this stuff. And for me, nothing about this was surprising. But again, I don't really, if you watch my stuff, like I don't try and predict numbers. I'm always bad at numbers. I kind of am more like trends and way things are kind of going. I don't know if I would have said I thought IOA was down 5%, which is pretty significant. But I think it'd be curious how much ground they can make up in what. But it's like you said, OG, it's gonna be weird because Epic didn't come online until May. Right. So anybody expecting like a massive jump, I'm not gonna predict that they're gonna see this like vertical rocket for their attendance. But I think where you could see it is 2026, 2027 time period. Maybe is whenever. And again, this is all going to depend on are they able to get these wait times down. And we could talk about this after this, but they released about Epic Universe next year. There's still no AP option. I don't think you see it till 2027 at this point, unless something drastically changes with the park. So if you can't even get annual pass holders in here, you're not going to hit attendance records. So you're basically just you're just obviously trying to get more out of each guys coming through in the short term.
Now, do you guys feel, because I'm in California, I've been to Walt Disney World. I haven't been to the Universal Orlando parks, but do you guys feel that Universal did enough though, like adding and plussing the studio park and IOA in the lead up to Epic Universe? Because I feel like it got attractions, it got stuff, right? I'm not going to say they didn't. They got Villain Con and they got Velocicoaster but really they haven't had a major expansion since Diagon Alley, which is 11 years ago now. Do you think they could have done a little more to kind of offset, like, going into this big expansion? I think that you kind of need, because I've talked about cannibalization a lot, like on my channel and stuff, where it's like you're going to have the shiny new thing down the street, and the other two parks really haven't had a ton of investment. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, obviously, I think you can always do better. I think from my understanding from talking to them, it was like all hands on deck to get Epic done. And then it's kind of like, let's play catch up with the other parks. Now, I don't know if that's the best strategy. That just seems like the route that they took. Because you look at Villain Con, I get what they were going for, but it's not the best. Even our kids don't even like it. Like, it's just kind of like a whatever ride. The DreamWorks Land retheme was like, you could tell that it was a low budget thing just to have something open. They could have done more. I mean, the Velocicoaster is the thing, but IOA and both studios have a lot of areas that they could definitely bring up to par. But I think they may be just saying, hey, let's push all our chips in on Epic. And then I guess you could say your hope there is like that has enough of a boost in the short term that gives you time to go back to the existing parks to bring those up. And then maybe in 10 years, you're kind of in the same spot either way, maybe is the thinking. But I think they could have done more, but I don't know. What do you think, Slimer?
Well, I think the Comcast actually has a big problem, and they have a really big problem in the terms of debt. And if you look at their debt, all right, they're sitting at over $90 billion with a B, and that includes cash flow. Okay, they're kind of broke from a debt perspective. I mean, they hold way too much debt. So what that means is this: it means that they cannot do the same amount of capital investment that Disney has the luxury of doing, because Disney actually has positive cash flow. Comcast is sitting on $90 billion in debt. So if they were to do $10 to $15 billion in investments into their parks, you're looking at adding 10% of their existing debt on the books. And so the shareholders are going to look at that, and their ledgers are going to look like total ass. And so that's why Universal Studios spreads out these investments so dramatically. I mean, 2010 to 2014 to 2019, and now 2025. So what's it?
And that was before. I think Hogsmeade was before Comcast bought him. I think. So I think Comcast's biggest one would have been 2014. That'd have been Diagon Alley.
You're right. And that's why these regional parks are a really good idea, because they can build these things, and in like the first 2 years, they're already profiting off of their return on investment, because they only need to make like what, $100 million a year, So
the park overall is like $500 million to build, I believe. So in terms of theme parks, not that expensive. But
no, and they'll profit in 5 years. But in terms of Epic Universe, they're going to probably look at a longer return on investment on Epic. And then with regard to Islands of Adventure, OG, the problem that I think the Universal has is that they're so forward thinking when it comes to how to capitalize on the biggest pop culture, not just in America, but globally. I think they're waiting till the last minute to make a decision on how they want to invest on an IP that is going to push their parks forward 5 to 10 years, because they could easily go to Warner Brothers and they could put DC in there, and they could put, Looney Tunes, and I think you and I agree. Like, I would love to have Looney Tunes in Epic Universe, but the problem is that Looney Tunes and DC are not making the money that Demon Slayer is and Jujutsu Kaisen. I mean, like, these are just the reality of where pop culture is shifting. And if they dump $1 billion into Islands of Adventure in DC, and then a year later their attendance drops $1 million after after the land opens, then they've wasted $1 billion. And I think that's the issue that they're trying to avoid.
Yeah, and we're going to get into it later on with Comcast maybe wanting to acquiring WB, but you're absolutely right about that. Like right now, culturally, and this is my biggest issue with WB right now, and this is kind of why I actually want Comcast to buy them, just because I feel like for 25 years-ish, ever since the AOL merger back in like 2000, the Warner Brothers IP have been really like mismanaged, and to the point where like a lot of these IPs that they have are like completely irrelevant. Like I don't even know, like does Gen Z even know like a lot of the Looney Tunes? I don't think so. I mean, they're pretty irrelevant, and I think Comcast could really come in there and kind of build it back up. But see, that's the thing, you would have to, I think, build it back up through content first.
Yes.
So, streaming shows
relevant to put it in the park, essentially.
Yes. So you're talking, it would have to be a long-term thing for the park. Like you would have to do like Looney Tunes shows and movies and really get people interested again. And then from that, you can put it into the parks. But yeah, and the brand is decimated. It really is. I mean, especially on the animation side. Go ahead, Slimer.
Well, let me ask you this, Jared. This is a question for you because I know you're marketing. Do you think that Universal, let's say Comcast hypothetically bought Warner Brothers Discovery, do you think it would behoove them? Do you think it'd be a good strategy for them to utilize guerrilla marketing to kind of just speed up the interest in the IPs that they just acquired, to try to beef up an interest so that way they can justify putting them into their parks?
I think you could do, I mean, like a more, because guerrilla marketing will be much more immediate versus wait, because I think I agree with OG. The issue you would have is you'd have to rehab these IPs, which takes time. And then it's a risk because it still could just be the IPs are just, some IPs are just, they just have expiration dates on some level. But you could do guerrilla marketing to kind of like build up anticipation and hype, and maybe even see where it's at in terms of what people want. And I think we'll talk about the Comcast WB thing, like OG said, but I think that's the risk that Comcast has if they do want to go after WB, is like some of these properties are not home runs. Just off, you're going to have to do things to them, and is it worth the risk of buying them for what they seem like they want for it? But obviously, you got a lot of IPs. I mean, you got Harry Potter, you got all the DC stuff. I know DC's tied up with Six Flags, but I honestly think you could acquire those if you really wanted them. So they have the IPs. It's just, it's how they would approach that. I don't think they would take the Disney approach where it's like you're just now starting to see the 20th Century Fox stuff really make its way. As a whole, they kind of sat on a lot of those for a little bit. I don't think Universal would do that, but that would be interesting. I think guerrilla marketing would work potentially. Just be, I guess, the timeline of when you would expect it in the park. So it would be like meet and greets or actual lands and stuff like that. But
and it would really revolutionize like their regional push too for Universal, because the WB, like, I mean, they own not just the Looney Tunes, but even all the Hanna-Barbera stuff. So Flintstones and Jetsons and Scooby-Doo. I mean, and all that stuff is like perfect for like those, kid parks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The kid parks are interesting because I think as well you could see those come to Orlando. I've said that for like a year now. I was like, you put it up, they've got all that space around Epic. You only need 30 acres to do it. There's plenty of space around Epic to do it, and it would give you technically 4 parks from a marketing standpoint. So then you would just be, Disney touts 4 parks. You could tout 4 parks that isn't a water park. I mean, and it would give you that demographic too of kids that they really haven't gone after before. And if you threw like Super Nintendo World into one of those, like a kid version of it, I think that would be a huge hit if they were to do that.
So let me ask you guys this, right? Because I feel like Universal Studios now has they've come to a fork in the road, right? Now with Warner Brothers being on the table, and now knowing what they know about how to combat Disney in terms of attendance over in Japan, because Universal Studios actually had higher attendance than Tokyo Disney Sea. Right.
That's true. They did. Yeah.
Right. Why? Because they're leaning into buying the licensing rights for Japanese IP. They're leaning really hard in all the manga and the Demon Slayer and all that stuff. Okay. And even in Halloween Horror Nights too. Like if you go to the Halloween Horror Nights in Japan, a lot of it's Japanese as well. I mean, they have some American stuff, but it's different.
It's even Japanese out here. Like for our fan fest, it was like Jujutsu Kaisen and One Piece. And it's crazy, right? Go ahead. Sorry, bro.
No, you're good. You're good. So now that they've looked at the attendance drop of Islands of Adventure, I want to really like isolate on that one because Iowa is their second biggest park. Right. Do you think that this is giving do you think it's informing Universal Comcast on which direction they should lead when trying to decide, hey, do we forego Warner Brothers and all these great IPs and go more towards the Asian market, which seems to be more of a global market right now? Or do we go head on in Warner Brothers and try to pick up, some of the licensing rights that they have over there, like Harry Potter? They have licensing agreements for Ghostbusters. I mean, they have so many licensing agreements that they could utilize. If they don't get them, then they're going to have to renegotiate them. If Paramount gets them, or whoever they merge with, they're going to have to renegotiate all these licensing rights, which would be to their detriment because they're going to ask for more, and it's going to cut into their margins at the end of the day. But do you think that? Yeah. So do you think that they're going to pivot one way versus another, and do you think it's going to be based off of the attendance numbers of 2024?
I would like to see a little bit of both, to be honest with you. I love when they lean into the Asian entertainment, right? Like the anime and all that stuff. I love that. But at the same time, I also think it would be great if they had a lot of this Warner Brothers IP under their belt. I kind of want to see a little mix of both. I mean, anime has always been popular to some degree, right? But right now it's exceptionally popular. But is it going to remain exceptionally popular in 20 years? Or is it going to kind of come back down to earth a little bit? I'm guessing it's probably going to come back down to earth a little bit. It's going to ebb and flow. So I wouldn't go, if I was Universal, I wouldn't put like all my eggs in that basket, but I would definitely lean into it to some degree. You can't ignore it. You know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't depend too much on it though, because in 10, 15 years, I mean, it might not be the hottest thing anymore. And now you have a whole park of like a bunch of anime stuff that isn't really the hot item. Remember, a decade ago, superhero stuff was the hottest thing ever. And now look, it's like, it's kind of waning.
Yeah, that could. I mean, I don't think 2024 numbers have any impact on it. If I were to guess, I don't think neither Disney nor Universal are surprised by any of those. If it is an either or, which maybe they're having internal discussions. If it is an either or, do we buy Warner Brothers or do we go more anime? If that was the case, that's a very interesting conversation because I think obviously anime is trending upwards, but I think OG's point is true. You don't know the longevity of these things. Like they could fall off, but they could also become massive and have even more cultural, acceptance. And I think that would be your gamble. When it comes to the whole Comcast looking at Warner Brothers, it's like I think they're looking at the Wizarding Worlds as the biggest thing that's happened to their parks, and the last thing you would want is for those rights to be tied up with another company to have to renegotiate with. And then if you have the opportunity to get them, I mean, you may never get this shot again. But the debt load, I've had the same thing. I'm like, the debt load, would it be approved? Like, there's lots of questions around anybody buying Warner Brothers at this point. But since we'll get off this, and then we'll move on to Warner Brothers. I want to catch up to the chat. Unless you guys have anything else you want to add about the attendance numbers before we move on.
No, I'm good on the attendance.
Hey, we're number one. All right, West Coast. Number one.
There we go. But we're right behind. We're that close, though. We're that close.
Hey, man, it's like the championship every year. It turns over. I'll catch up on the comments here, and then we'll move on to the other talking about Warner Brothers. Remy D says, "Yeah, Universal Studios Hollywood dropping 10% is puzzling." Oh yeah, we got that one. Kika and Lucas said, "I don't have any interest in going to Epic yet. I'll wait a couple of years." That makes sense, and I've been telling people too. I'm like, it's still in beta testing mode, as I call it. So I think if you're wanting to go, it's iffy. What I have seen is Sundays tend to be the lowest wait time days, which is kind of strange.
Jared, You said it's in beta mode. I kind of prefer my parks to be a little more alpha. I don't know.
I like an alpha park personally. I agree. I knew as soon as you said that, I was like, I know that there's something here. I don't know what it was.
There's a joke there.
Let's see. Rogue Attraction says, I thought Universal would have an increase with Disney's DAS change, to be honest. I kind of think the DAS stuff was one of those like online things more. Like you heard about it, a lot of people online complaining about it, but I don't know how many people outside of the online sphere that was a major issue. It could be something that affects them more in the future, but yeah, there's like more annual pass holders and people that go frequently is my guess. But
yeah, I would agree with you on that too, Jared, because I feel like we're all in this space, like we're all consumed in it, like on social media and stuff. And sometimes it is hard, admittedly, to kind of separate like our little nerd bubble and like the normies and what they care about. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of times I'll be talking to people at work, like my coworkers, and they like going to parks, but they're not like how we are. And I'll bring stuff up and they don't even know what half of it. Like I mentioned to a coworker, like just a few months before Epic Universe opened, I mentioned it to her and she had no idea even what it was. And it blew my mind because we've been talking about it for how long? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the normies are just on a whole different like playing field. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same.
Well, it's funny because you look into the marketing of stuff and you're like, they're doing how much on marketing? And then you realize you run into people all day that like, they still think Harry Potter's in Disney World or something. And you're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. And then you're going to your mom. You're like, Mom, did you take Tylenol excessively when you were pregnant with me?
She's like, I did. You're like, damn. I knew it. Kiki and Lucas said, I think Super Nintendo World brought attendance up at Universal Hollywood. People experienced and decided to skip this year.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Let's see here. I'm about to scroll down here. Let's see. Tab 2 Booted said, hey, Jared, are you going to cover the 3 people who passed away at Disney World recently? If not, all good. Just know that you cover about everything in the parks. I saw that. I mean, first off, it's sad. One of them was a suicide appearance. Maybe another one. And really, to talk about in a video, it's just like somebody committed suicide. Another one was a medical incident, I believe. And then the third one, I think that just happened. I don't think they have determined yet. It's a potential suicide, maybe. But it seems to all be happening around like Contemporary Resort, which is strange. Well, which it isn't the first suicide that's happened there either. There was somebody that jumped from a balcony like 2 years ago, I think, over there. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, but also to his point here, I mean, I understand what he's saying. We're like, we cover, like you cover the news, we all cover the news, right? And those are stories. Those are huge stories, absolutely. But I do think there's a difference between a story like that and a story like what happened with like Stardust Racers, right? Because I feel like the death that happened with Stardust Racers, it has potentially, like it could potentially impact the park greatly. Right. Where a suicide is something that's very sad and obviously horrible and tragic, but it's not something where it's like the Contemporary Resort is like, it's at risk for maybe being shut down, or it doesn't really have like bigger ramifications. So it's not as much of a story compared to like Stardust Racers. So yes, they're both tragic, Stardust and these deaths, but they don't have the same impact in the industry that we report on, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and like somebody, I saw some comment, a couple people that were like, oh, you cover Stardust Racers or not? There's a woman that passed away at Disneyland on Haunted Mansion and she had a heart attack. I'm like, what is there to cover? It'd be like a 2-minute video being like, it's incredibly sad. There's no mystery behind. I mean, Stardust was one of those things like we may never see one of those again. It was just a very like strange incident. We still don't know all the details yet. We're still Ben Crump has been very quiet the past 2 weeks, so I don't know where even that's. But
context is key.
Well, the heart attack story, like that's another one where it's very, very sad. But what are we going to talk about, like heart disease, or like what's the story here exactly, right? Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's the sad thing. I mean, you look at the incident reports, like stuff like this does happen. Like it's not often, but and I think whenever you have something like Stardust happen, you're going to see a lot more headlines whenever things do happen, just because it's kind of like in the ether in many ways. But
and that was potentially Universal's fault, right? So like it could have been. Yeah. So there was a lot going on there where the heart attack in Haunted Mansion, that was just the woman's So
I think the last time something like this actually happened was when unfortunately that child got eaten by an alligator at what was it, Grand Floridian Resort.
Oh, that was horrible.
I think that was about 20 years ago.
That still that one bugs me. Like if I that was before I started doing YouTube on that one, but man, that story is so heartbreaking. I can't even like. I always tend to place myself in the position of the. I'm just like I can't even imagine like that happen. And that's a sad thing too. It's like whether it's somebody jumping off a balcony or something like that happening, like you or Stardust Racers, like you go on vacation and you go home with one less person. Like that's terrible. I mean, especially if you're like on a vacation or something like that.
And the kid was like 8 or 9 years old, I think. I mean,
he was like 5, wasn't he?
Was he? Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
dude,
he was a little guy.
He was very little. Yeah. Let's see. Vince, I'm gonna get this right. Vinton.
Real quick, I'm so sorry not to interrupt you, but while we talked about the alligator story, in Bob Iger's book, he actually brings up that was one of the situations that actually did impress him with Bob Chapek, the way he handled the alligator situation. So a lot of people don't like Chapek, and I get it. He gets a lot of crap online, but I do feel we should like also bring up like the things that he did do that that was good, to be fair, and that was something that Bob Iger said that really impressed him, the way he handled that whole situation. So to his credit, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I didn't read his book. What did he say that he did? Because I knew they put up like they have a memorial to him. I know at Grand Floridian, and then they put up I know they put up now fences around all that stuff now.
Yeah, that, and then just also I think he was like calling the family and you know what I'm saying. It's just the overall respect and the handling of it was really well done. So
yeah. No, I mean that. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, and it's just like if you're coming to Florida, don't go into bodies of water that are not pools. That's all I'll say. Anytime I see people do it, I'm like, just assume there are plenty of things in there that will get you. That is always my assumption. Vinton Solars 8464 said, Jared, on your channel, you mentioned that Disneyland ranked second after Magic Kingdom. With our 70th celebration, do you think we could possibly eclipse them next year, especially with all the construction? I think it's possible. I definitely think it's possible.
With only 0.7% in attendance growth in 2024, I think that Disneyland is going to beat Magic Kingdom next year. But celebrate while you can, because once Villains is open, forget about it.
We got about a decade.
Oh, that's true.
There.
Yeah.
See, that's my. I mean, probably it'll be short term whenever that is done.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You know, it is interesting too. Like Slimer, I remember when you were down here about a year and a half ago when we all hung out, you were very impressed with Disneyland as an overall park, right? I mean, it's a stacked park. I mean, that park has so much going on, dude.
It's my favorite park. There's nothing that compares to Disneyland.
Yeah.
Well, I'll find days.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing is because we had Disneyland opened in 1955, right? So we had from 1955 until our second park, which wasn't all the way until 2001. So anytime Imagineering wanted to put anything in California, it had to go in Disneyland. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it just added and added and added. But here's the problem with that is then they built DCA. And now DCA, I feel so bad for this little park. And now it's competing with this juggernaut of it, like this giant. Not only is it Disneyland, Walt Disney's first park and yada, 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 but it's like the most stacked park with the traction counts and the whole thing. So it's like, it really does make DCA look bad. And DCA is a good little park, but it's like comparing it to Disney, no park would really be able to compete. You know what I'm saying? It's just hard.
But it's not even like, Jared, it's not even the amount of attractions. It's the execution of Imagineering. Even though a lot of what they've done in there is now, 20, 30, 40 years old. The level of the execution of engineering is just on such a high level. The Magic Kingdom doesn't come close. I would say you probably have to go to like Animal Kingdom or Epic Universe. And even then it's kind of different because that's very modern. Because what they did in Disneyland is a lot older, but you could tell like the execution, it doesn't matter what decade it was in. It was just really high. Like even like how you navigate through Frontierland. The Frontierland there, just the pathways, the way that they've organized them and the way they lead to, the flywheel and the way they lead to, or the hub spoke, or the way they lead to Galaxy's Edge, it's better. There's just, everything's better about it.
Well, that's why when I went to Disney World for the first time a couple of years ago, I was like, Magic Kingdom was my least favorite because you naturally compare it to Disneyland, and I grew up at Disneyland. So I'm like, this park is like this is like live action Disneyland. It's like it checks the boxes, but it feels soulless compared to Disneyland. But then parks like Animal Kingdom and Epcot, oh my gosh, Chef's Kiss, baby. Those are amazing. As a Californian, I love those.
It's so different. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, my wife's been a bunch. I have not I'm hoping next year make it out there. We will for sure within the next few years, undoubtedly. But yeah, I do want to check it out. So I kind of like don't watch a lot of Disneyland stuff because I don't want it to be spoiled. I know the park's like 50, whatever, 70 years old, but I try and like I'll just see for myself one of those things. But I was gonna get to Remy D's real quick. She said, yeah, a pattern seems to exist with Universal. Attendance sharply declines the next year after a major new attraction. IOA dropped 1 million the year after Velocicoaster opened.
Wow,
interesting. Very interesting.
Okay.
Let's see. Storybook Sorcerer said, I hope they come up with more entertainment options for Epic just so they can try to get a better balance with the whole attendance and wait times. I agree, and I'm actually surprised we haven't heard any. Like, they were going to do more in part, like storytellers and all that in Celestial Park that they scrapped right before it opened, and they really haven't. Like, when we were there, they had some bands playing, but they didn't have like all that street atmosphere they could have. So, I mean, they definitely... I think they could do some Disney-like short-term turnarounds where you try and throw some stuff up in the short term. Because even if they announce today that they're building a new land at Epic, it's not going to be done for years. Right. So you still have this issue from now, unless they just feel that they can get all these rides optimized to the point where it will impact those wait times that much. Maybe that's what they're aiming at. But I think in the long run, the park will be fine. It's just this short little period here of just trying to feel its way through it.
Well, let's hover on that for a second if we can, because there's two things they could add to Epic Universe in a relatively short amount of time that I think would really resolve a lot of the congestion issues when it comes to the lines. The first one is they have to have a parade.
Yes.
Yeah, because the parades they eat up so much people and they take them out of the lines, and it's a high quality attraction that they can do relatively cheap, and it can bring everybody into Celestial Park, and that would free up a lot of the lines, especially if they do it multiple times throughout the day. And then the second thing is a fireworks show, and how they don't have a fireworks show yet is kind of perplexing to me, because we're coming down to the holidays now. When you think that you would want Epic Universe to have a fireworks show, and they still have not made any sort of announcements. They have nada. Zip, zero, zilch. They don't have the dragons in the air. We even had a 4th of July celebration, I believe it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they
still
don't
fireworks
have anything.
On the 4th.
Yeah, fireworks on the 4th.
Yeah. But I know they're working on that show. I've heard from multiple people. I don't know where the progress is on it, and you bring up a good point about the dragons. They're still testing those. And I've even felt too, Celestial Park, like a food festival in there. Like, there's a lot of things you can do with this park in the long run. I get the feeling from talking to people that it's just very much like they're just focused on park operations right now and not wanting to throw a lot of extra things on top of it. And I guess that would just be, I don't know what that timeline is, though. Is that a whole year or is that 6 months? Like, we're already up at 6 months now. So I think it's just a very fluid situation in terms of adding things to this park until, like, I was surprised they're adding Christmas stuff, to be honest, given how it is. I
know they're easing their way into it, but I think there is such thing as easing a little too much into this.
Yeah, unless they're and the other thing too, they could be already seeing really good, like they're very happy with what they're seeing attendance or revenue wise, and they don't feel a massive push. I don't know that. I'm just that could be a scenario.
I just hope with the dragons. Because we've seen this with Disney before, and this is why I never get super excited. Because you always see Disney, like you'll see like them get on stage at some like expo or convention with all this new technology, like this animatronic can do backflips, right? And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but we're never gonna see this thing in action in the parks. It never pans out, right? Or very rarely does it, right?
Right.
So it does kind of worry me a little bit with Universal that we saw this cool dragon. We're 6 months out of the opening and it's still nowhere to be seen. There's no as far as I know, no rumors of it coming. I hate to see that kind of stuff because I love that the new technology, but I feel like a lot of these companies, they trot it out, they get us excited, and then it like disappears. I hope that's not the case with this.
I agree. I will say they have mentioned, they were asked directly about that like 2 or 3 months ago, and they did say the dragons you saw testing before, that they're testing like a 2.0 version. And apparently they have said it's still being tested, but we have not seen anything in the parks, which I agree with you. I hope that's not something that just gets scrapped and we never hear about it again.
Yeah. Hey, we got Theme Park Casual in the chat, by the way. What's up, Casual?
What's going on, Casual?
Kiki and Lucas said stock market hit another high today, but everyone I know seems poor. How good or bad is the actual economy? That will have an impact on park attendance. Well, and Slimer and I were talking about this earlier. I agree with that. And I think that if you do see an economic rebound, which I think there are some pretty good fundamental indicators, you could be seeing that. I don't know that timeline, but if there is an economic rebound, kind of like we saw in 2018, 2019, I think both Disney and Universal just explode, because you're not seeing a huge drop off, even with a down economy. And now, granted, a lot of that is propped up by the higher earners right now. But if you did see more people with discretionary income, this stuff's just going to, I don't even know where it's going to go. It'd probably go past 2019 numbers. And that was, at that point, was the highest we had seen when it came to like at least Disney.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, it's interesting, too, with theme parks. It's a pretty, I mean, for what it's worth, it's a pretty stable business. I mean, even like you were saying, Jared, even in like economic downturns, I feel like people, because they're going through life issues and money problems or whatever, they try to make it work to kind of get away from that stuff. So it's very much like these parks are very resilient in a lot of ways, comparative to like a lot of other entertainment stuff. I feel theme parks are something that people really try to do to get their mind off things, even when things are bad, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. I do agree. Rogue Attraction says, will Universal let Disney corner the patriotic market with soaring over America and the 4th of July fireworks? That's a good question. Universal's never really, I mean, Disney's known much more for Americana historically. I don't know. That would be interesting. I mean, they did a 4th of July show, but I would like to see them do more. But I don't know if Universal's, I don't know if they'll make that the thing or not.
I'll be honest with you, Rogue. I'm still mad at Disney for conceding dinosaurs to Universal. I mean, there was a time, you know, when Disney used to like embrace the dinos, and I feel like that's no more. I feel Disney has sort of determined or whatever that that's a Universal IP. Even technically, it's not. I know, but I think Disney corporate sees dinosaurs as a Universal thing, and they're just pulling back from all that stuff. And it's sad.
Well, you're not going to be able to do it as good as Jurassic Park, which is probably maybe why they think that. They're just like, it's Jurassic Park and dinosaurs are like synonymous now. It's like Kleenex. Like they're technically, it's like the brand name known as that thing, kind of.
Yeah.
Vincent here says, it's funny. I thought we would never be saying that Looney Tunes aren't relevant, but you're so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good point.
No, they are. I mean, they're, when I was a kid, like growing up, like in Jared, right? I mean, all three of us actually, like, I mean, after school, it was always the Disney afternoon and all the Warner Brothers stuff, man. I mean, it was like they were like neck and neck. And now it's like kids nowadays, they have no idea who half these characters are.
I don't think my kids would know any of them.
Like Tasmanian Devil and Tweety and all that. Like, I don't know. Do kids even?
Yeah, I don't. I'm trying to think of my daughter might. I don't think my son would. Yeah, at least our kids, which I haven't shown it to them. So if they've seen it, it's been through proxy somewhere else. But yeah,
like if you did like a cartoon character lineup, and you had like, you know, Mickey Mouse, a Minion, and like
Bugs Bunny,
Sylvester, Bugs Bunny or Sylvester and Tweety. Like most kids probably wouldn't be able to tell you what the Looney Tunes
probably. Although they probably know them better than the Toon Lagoon characters. But you're not wrong there.
That's true.
Remy had a good point. Is Haunted Mansion too scary? Tune in at 7 while we investigate. I mean, if I was an ultimate grifter, I would be like, Haunted Mansion is scary. That's just my whole thing about it. But let's see. I'm trying to get I think we're almost, man, thank you for being in the chat. I can't even keep up with the chat right now. Slimer, you're getting lots of compliments that you're smart. That makes I'm glad 1 out of 3 of us is smart.
At least somebody thinks I'm smart.
You're keeping up the average. I'm bringing it down. We'll try to maintain the median here.
There we go.
Let's see here. James All Day TV says, for co-CEOs of Disney, how about Kevin Mayer for creative and Josh Duhamel for business? I think Kevin Mayer does care about the movies and the parks. I kind of get the idea that if it was going to be Kevin Mayer at all, it would be him and Stags together. That's been my dark horse outside hire candidate or like theory if they're going outside. But
I mean, I would hope so. That's who I'm rooting for too. I'm really surprised they passed over Kevin for Chapek because Kevin was the architect of all these acquisitions, which, you know, Bob Iger, his entire legacy was built on acquisitions. And so they pass over Kevin to put Chapek in there.
I know.
What are they? I never understood that. That was so weird. Bob Iger literally owed everything to Kevin Meyer.
Well, and that's the point. Is I think that Kevin Meyer would undermine Bob Iger's legacy if he would have made him the CEO.
That's a good point.
You do wonder about that.
I think sometimes it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what's crazy, Slimer, is I used to poo-poo that notion, but as the years have gone by and the more I've seen from Bob, the more I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's not so far from the truth. You know what I'm saying?
I think people would be. I always say this with pro athletes, people are shocked at how large they are in person because they're massive, and how small actors are. And I think people underestimate how huge CEOs' egos are. Like, I think they are beyond anything that most people can comprehend. Like, oh, they might be a little arrogant. Like, these guys, a lot of them, I don't know Bob Iger, but they think that they're like gods. Like, they want to be, my name's going to echo through the chambers for, you know, it's like, oh, okay. Like, and I think once you start thinking that way, a lot of weird decisions get made.
Well, you're completely right, Jared, because ego is the downfall of, like, I mean, celebrities, I mean, you know, whatever. I mean, CEOs or whatever. Ego is what really brings people down usually.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have that humility. And Bob Iger seems like he's got the ego. And he's all in on that legacy right now.
He's in legacy mode. Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. We got Pizzas and Parkops. What's up? This is Brandon, and there's a couple of listeners of the podcast. They started a new show called Pizzas and Parkops. They said, at Hollywood Studios, do you see only one coaster attraction with Monstropolis, or do you think they announced second attraction at the next D23 since Disney generally has 2 attractions to a land? I don't think you see Disney announce too much stuff until all this stuff is done, if I were to guess. Eventually, probably. I don't know where they would. You're kind of constrained over there, though, where they're building Monstropolis. I don't know really. I guess you could. Yeah, I don't really. They're already going on the parking lot for the coaster out there. I don't know if you'd have room for it in there.
Yeah, I think the show that they're going to be doing, the Mike and Tully show, is going to be the second ride, if you will. Now, I will say this about that ride: the complexity of the ride system itself is going to introduce some massive problems. The first, I don't know, several months.
I could see that too.
That's going to be a big issue. So wait for that one.
You get lifted up and you're just stuck there. Yeah, that's
dude, that's a nightmare.
It's like being stuck in the Skyliner. Yeah. I like the Skyliner when it works, and when you get stuck and you're just hovering, I hate it. I'm not a big fan of heights. Oh gosh.
Oh, Jared, I want to ask you about that because I never did the Skyliner when I was down there for that reason.
Right.
There's no AC in those things, obviously. It depends on the windows being cracked open and the movement. So when you're sitting in there, I mean, how hot does it get?
I mean, if you're midday, it's like you're just baking in a car. I mean, it can get hot. And granted, I've only been stuck where it hasn't moved for like 5 minutes. Unless something drastically happens. But the highest point is over Caribbean Beach, and I've been stuck there where it just stops all of a sudden. And what makes it worse is like it sways, and you're just sitting there, and our kids will be like, "Daddy, are you okay?" Like, "Daddy's fine. Daddy's fine." I'm just staring down, like, oh, I hate this so much. But
oh my god, dude, I'm getting like an anxiety even just hearing that. I couldn't even imagine. Like,
I'm not one of the, like, I don't like heights. I don't get like weak need. I have known people that like almost faint at heights. I don't do that or anything. I don't care for it. If I'm not, I just want to look out the window. But when it works, it's great. It's just if you get stuck up there, you're kind of cursing at the wind for a while. But
for me, I'm claustrophobic, and that's the bigger issue than anything. It's just it's being in that metal box, and you're stuck. It's like, oh, yikes.
Do you get claustrophobic on the monorails?
Weirdly enough, no. I don't know. It's like certain things, but the monorails, I think the cabins are big enough where I'm like, those are pretty cool for me. But a Skyliner, that's like a little tiny box. There's no way.
The worst one is if you get stuck whenever you have like other parties in there with you and people you don't know. And I'm like, if this is long enough, listen, we're going to have to establish a P corner, and someone's going to be dominant in here. You're going to see this thing fighting or something. Yeah, it's just, my head goes there, and then it starts moving again. I'm like, oh, okay, never mind.
Like the survivalist mindset,
yeah, I'm just
right?
like, I'm going to have to, okay, all right. Where's the resources up here in the sky?
Jared gets in a Skyliner. He's already deciding, like, okay, I'm going to probably kill you. I'm going to eat your child. Your wife is going to do the laundry.
It's like Dennis was always funny. He's like, I went to a really dark place all of a sudden. I go there a lot. Storybook Sorcerer says it's an exposure thing. My daughter watches Baby Looney Tunes because we pick it for her on another YouTube other than Cocomelon. I mean, you would have to actively show your kids at this point, I think, to know Looney Tunes, because it's just not on. I don't think it's on much anymore, is it? On anything?
Mm-mm.
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah.
And Chelsea said she loves Country Bear Jamborees. She loves the Country Bear. Sorry, Jared. Listen, whenever the Country Bears become sentient, I'm just going to say I told everybody all along, because bears are terrifying monsters. And then you have the teddy bear propaganda that's been going on for ever since Teddy Roosevelt. They're making them these sweet, cuddly creatures. And then you got robotic bears and AI. This is a nightmare.
What is that documentary about the guy that just lives with the bears and thinks that he's like they like him and they're safe? Have you guys seen this documentary? And then at the very end of the documentary, it turns out that one of them that he's been tracking for years just turns around and eats him.
Yeah.
What did you? I think it was called like Bear Man.
Something. Yeah.
Bear Man.
The whole time, I remember I saw part of it. And you're just like, yeah. That the ending of that makes a lot of sense. I'm like, what did you?
Now, are you guys into any of the survival content? Like, you guys remember Survivor Man back in the day?
Yeah, like Bear Grylls. Yeah. I used to kind of watch it. The one that was the funniest was it Naked in the Woods or whatever? It was like a show where they were actually naked and they had to survive. And then that was just kind of funny because people would freak out, but. I never was like heavy into it, but it's like if it was on, I would watch it. Like if they had a marathon on Discovery or something.
I like the more like independent creators who do that kind of stuff because I like they're actually trying to survive as opposed to like the mainstream stuff. Like there's a dude on YouTube called Wooded Beardsman, and he'll go out in the woods with his buddy, and they have no food with them. They got to cook. The only time they eat is if they hunt and kill something. So and they go out there for like a few days or a week or whatever. And it's kind of interesting because they'll go like 2 or 3 days without eating. And it's like, oh, this is crazy, man. And that's fun. That's really, really fun to watch. That's not a bad, but they live though. They survive. But
not to go on a tangent, but our bodies were meant to go 2 or 3 days without food.
It's true. I actually don't eat until about noon every day, which was that did not used to be the case for me. I will say that much.
Well, actually, what's funny about that too, is they say that our body, I think a lot of what we eat, like the modern foods, like the processed foods and the high fructoses and all that stuff, I heard it makes us hungrier. Like it makes us more snacky, where our bodies are not really meant for that kind of.
Well, there's actually a thing too, and we could go on this for like hours. Basically all our food has been messed with. So like fruit is actually sweeter than it actually naturally was. It's been actually like manipulated to be sweeter. Therefore, it make you like. There's been studies that show like if you drink Diet Cokes, like you actually gain weight. It's not that you drinking Diet Cokes makes you gain weight. It's the fact that people kind of feel they can eat more because they're drinking Diet Cokes or something like that. But yeah, there is some stuff there about that for sure. Like it's an interesting conversation because like if you go to people that have gone to like Italy, they'll eat pasta the whole time and they'll lose weight. And then they'll come back to the US and they'll have the same stuff and they'll gain like 15 pounds. So there is something in the wheat. I know that much that has been messed with on like a molecular level.
Yeah, because even like bread and stuff back in like Jesus's time was like healthier than like the bread we eat today,
Oh yeah. I've heard some people say like, you just shouldn't eat bread, like our bread, which I kind of go like, it's not carnivore. I eat carbs around my workouts, but other than that, I usually don't eat carbs. I use mostly just meat other than that. But there are some, and I've noticed doing that, like I wasn't even trying and I did that and I lost like 10 pounds and I was like, oh, okay. Like I wasn't trying to do anything. I just kind of changed it up. And I think there is something to it, especially with the bread.
Oh yeah.
Pizzas and Park Hop says loving Old Glory there, Slimer. Got the good old.
Thank you. Well, my dogs are barking up a storm. Let me see what they're barking at.
All right, I'm gonna see him wrestling dogs in the background. He comes back all like scratched.
Oh, he's got one in a headlock. You know,
like everything's good over here. Don't worry about that.
We're good. We're good.
They're letting them know who the alpha is around here.
Yeah.
Let's see.
It's not a beta. It's not a beta like Epic Universe, you know?
No, not at all. Not at all. Maybe it'll make its way to alpha one day. Pizza Park Up says, Jared, weren't you stuck on the Skyliner for a few hours when it first opened? Wait, did you say for a few hours? No. The longest we've been stuck on the Skyliner is like 10 minutes, maybe. It felt like hours, but it was only like, it wasn't very long.
Have you ever been stuck in an elevator, Jared?
I have not. I've had the fear of being stuck in an elevator, but I've never actually been stuck in one.
Yeah. No, me neither, but same. I fear it. Yeah. It crosses my mind when I get in one. Absolutely.
Oh, every single time I get in one, I'm always just like looking around like, okay, like what am I going to do here? Kiki and Lucas says Naked and Afraid. Was that what it's called? Naked and Afraid? Okay.
Yeah.
Naked and Afraid. Pizza and Park Hop says the Dual Survivor guys were pretty good. I never watched any of that stuff.
I got to check that out. Interesting.
And then James All Day TV says, does Iger even know that people will only remember him for destroying the Disney brand and bending the knee to the far left activists who only care about messaging and not storytelling? Probably not. He probably doesn't. I mean, that's the thing about like a lot of the decisions. My criticism of Iger has been a lot of it has been for his. It's much less for the good of the company, much less for his own personal stuff. I think in many ways, and I think that's where he probably would have been better off never coming back. Like, I think if he's talking about legacy, he would have been better off just to like where he left at the parks were at 2019 levels. He walks away. Granted, the timing of him walking away was suspect.
Oh, yeah. Hey, for me, James, I mean, look, I am souring on Iger quite a bit lately. I think his time has come. He needs to go and let the new person take over. But I'll say this. I don't think his entire tenure has been a disaster. I think that buying, and this might be controversial, but buying Lucasfilm, buying Marvel, buying Pixar, and even Fox to some degree, I think was sort of necessary. And I think those brands work well for Disney. Well, not as much Fox, but I think the other stuff really works with Disney. And also, it's kind of prevented Disney. Disney's the only studio that has never been bought out. They've done the buying, but they've never been bought out. And a lot of that is because of Bob Iger and Michael Eisner too, expanding the size of this company through acquisitions and what have you. I mean, to his credit, I mean, if Michael Eisner didn't buy Cap Cities ABC, you know, Disney probably would have got eaten up, you know, by some other company, right? But the bigger you get, the harder that becomes. So, and Iger, you know, I mean, those acquisitions were a big part of his tenure. So, you know, it wasn't all bad. Also got to remember the MCU was massively successful for how long? A decade or more. So I think there's been a lot of good stuff, even with the theme parks. You know, we've gotten some great stuff. Like they completely remodeled, you know, DCA a $1 billion renovation. We got Pandora out there in Florida, what have you. So I think there's been good stuff, but he's also had a lot of crap decisions as well. So there's been it's been, you know, hit or miss to say the least.
And I think under Iger, they've become so reactionary to everything. Like that's the thing. I think getting into, you know, and listen, we don't talk about politics on this channel, but it's like whether or not the idea was to bend to certain sides or not. I think many times it's like they have a knee-jerk reaction to this and they do this, and then it's like, oh no, we've made everybody mad, versus just being like, just go where you want to go. Like have a vision. I always tell people you need a mission statement for your life. If you have a mission statement for your life, all your decisions go through that. And I feel like Disney has just been kind of like, which way's the wind blowing sort of thing, and going that way. And then the wind changes like, oh no, we got to go this way. And so it just seems very haphazard. But listen, I'm glad people are catching up. I've been saying for like 8 years that Bob Iger has not been a good CEO. I don't think he's the worst CEO ever, but I don't think he's been a necessarily good CEO, at least in my opinion. I mean, he's made, you know, I think the IP heavy stuff in the parks works to a degree, but not everything has to be an IP sort of thing. But let's see. All right, I think we're caught up on most here. So let's move on to something about Warner Brothers and Comcast. Get this here. Whenever I get whenever Slimer gets back, I got to put my kids to bed here probably shortly for a few minutes. So when that happens, I will let you gentlemen know. But in the meantime, I hear them loudly in the other room as they're getting to bed. I'm glad the mic going to pick it up. All right. So Warner Brothers is basically made it public that they're going to be purchased, which isn't a shock, but they're kind of making it a formal thing here. You've had Paramount make 3 offers for them to various amounts. Some have speculated $20 a share, $24 a share. Zaslav has said he wants $30 a share, reportedly, which would value Warner Brothers close to 20th Century Fox. I did the math on it with this share. It would be around $75 billion. So he might be aiming at what Disney paid for Fox that he's wanting Warner Brothers to be purchased at. But all three bids have been turned down from Paramount. And now Paramount is being run by the Ellisons, which obviously have a lot of money. But there's a lot of rumor. Now, I don't know if they've made an official word about it, but a lot of speculation out there is that Comcast is going to basically make a move for them, as well as like Netflix is out there. There's been rumors about Apple. Where do you, I guess, who do you think ends up with this? And do you think it makes sense for Comcast to try? And again, talking about before, their debt load and all the things Comcast has going on. Does it make sense for them? And who do you think will actually end up with it?
Well, Comcast and Warner Brothers have been spinning off a lot of their TV stuff, which I found kind of, I don't know, a little coincidental, right? I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like Comcast and Warner have kind of been talking a little bit like prior to this, and they're kind of like, you know what I'm saying? And it also kind of points that it does. They're kind of like preemptively spinning stuff off. WB is rejecting all these offers from Paramount. I don't know. I feel like Comcast might be internally the favorite. Now, that doesn't mean that necessarily they're going to get it, but I kind of feel like there's something there with that one. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder too, is it down to just the money, or and I don't know this, does Warner Brothers have any sort of whoever buys them that they feel is a good caretaker for that, that brand going forward? And so there's lots of question marks around Paramount because the Ellisons are running it now and they have a lot of money, but they're unproven whenever it comes to doing anything at this point. They made some splashes, the UFC deal and things like that. And then you have Netflix, which Netflix has said their wording is interesting. They said they're not interested in acquiring in a network, but they did not say they're not interested in the IP catalog, which I kind of feel is a little interesting wording. Would they look at Comcast as like, this is going to be a good home for Warner Brothers? They'll take care of the brand. And if that is the case, would they get would they pay less for that? I don't know where Warner Brothers is on that, but I do think Comcast would be a better home because Comcast is a proven thing and that they can, I think, like you were saying, you potentially could revamp Looney Tunes and some of these other IPs that they have. Plus you throw in the theme park side of things. I do wonder about these studios wanting to sell to Netflix because a lot of them don't like Netflix because of they're kind of disrupting everything. And I'm very curious as to like what their preference is, or are they just after the money?
Well, here's the thing with Netflix. Yeah, it's a big unknown, right? Because it's a streaming service. I mean, are they going to lean into theatrical, right, or not? The smart thing to do if Netflix does acquire WB is to have Warner Brothers be their theatrical arm, basically. You know what I'm saying? That's the smart thing. Now, here's the thing. To be fair to Netflix, Comcast was a cable company. I mean, Comcast was and still is to a large degree, right? So they purchased Universal and did a great job, despite the fact that they were never really in that business in the first place, right? So it's possible that Netflix, even though they're a streaming service, can still do great things for theatrical. I mean, it's not impossible, you know what I'm saying? But there's also a risk, you know what I'm saying? So you never know. Yeah. Comcast, I feel like you were saying, Jared, you're absolutely right. It's much more of a proven thing. They've bought other things before, like DreamWorks and what have you, and they've done very well with it. They've shown respect to the things that they've acquired and their own IPs, right? I feel Warner Brothers would be in really good hands with them. I wouldn't worry at all. Netflix could do great, but we don't know. You know what I'm saying? That's more of an iffy thing. I don't know.
Well, and something to consider too, and I forgot to mention is, Peacock is not the strongest streamer out there. And obviously all these studios are thinking about streaming. If they were to acquire Warner Brothers and get HBO Max, that definitely beefs up their streaming end of things on top of everything else that could benefit them as well. So I do wonder if Comcast is looking at them, how much of this is like theme park, how much of this is movies, how much of this is just IPs, or how much of this is like streaming. And maybe it's all kind of an even thing. But I think money aside, if they can make it work, I think it makes a lot of sense for Comcast. I think it just comes down to, can they make that work and would it get approved? That's also been my other issue, is like, would this merger be approved given Comcast size compared to Paramount?
Well, I look, here's what I think. I think Comcast, in terms of which company is the best fit, I think it's also Comcast Universal. When we're talking about whether a company is just going to be absolved through an acquisition, or whether the company that's doing the acquisition is going to actually build upon the brand and improve on it and take it into new directions, there's no doubt that Universal Comcast is the company that's going to take Warner Brothers up and forward. I really do think that Paramount is going to do nothing but absorb it. I mean, yeah, they have some really good properties like Top Gun, Mission Impossible, Star Trek. You know, they have some really wholesome home what do you call it, household brands. But in terms of what Paramount has been able to do with their IP lately, they've been so hit and miss. Mission Impossible does great one year, down the next. Star Trek is 50-50. It's divided the fans. SpongeBob isn't as big as it used to be. They have, some distributing rights with Jurassic Park, and I think they have some licensing partnership when it comes to Sony and Columbia when it comes to Ghostbusters. I just don't know if Paramount's going to take Warner Brothers in a direction and give them I don't think they're going to give the IP the royal treatment that they need to give it. And not just with like DC and Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. I mean, all that's a given. But Warner Brothers has a legendary horror selection. I mean, look up Warner Brothers New Line Cinema horror. You know who's going to benefit from that? Comcast. But the problem is they're $90 billion in debt. How are they going to transition from a telecommunications company to a theme park company if let's say they buy this for $74 billion? How are they going to buy this if they're $200 billion in debt and then invest in the parks?
That's something I brought up too. And not to mention, Warner Brothers is like 30 billion in debt. So you'd have to take on their debt as well.
Right.
I don't know if Comcast would spin stuff off, and how much of the assets, if you buy Warner Brothers, can you sell off in the short term to make up some of that debt? I don't know. Right. But that is the same question I have. I'm like, it sounds great on paper. I think Comcast makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. The thing that doesn't make any sense to me, now granted, I'm not an accountant or an economist, but just looking at this from the outside looking in, I'm like, how do you even remotely make that work with the amount of debt that they have? And then, like you were saying, if they did do it, would that affect projects in the theme parks? Because, I mean, one would assume you wouldn't want to do that with all the momentum that you have. And that could go into what you're talking about, too, is like, are they weighing this with like anime? And is it just be like, we would like to have this, but like, we don't want to take on $75 billion of, buying this other company.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting to see how they approach it, because are they going to buy? I would imagine Comcast is going to buy. It wouldn't be the whole pie, because obviously that wouldn't get approved. It would have to be piecemeal, I'm sure.
Or could they just buy the IPs?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe they'll just buy like maybe they'll just buy like their animation or something, or maybe they'll just buy like their certain things and pull that. I mean, that's a possibility. Another cool thing though, if Comcast did own Warner Brothers, Universal Studios Hollywood sits like within eyeshot of the WB lot. You can see it from Universal. Yep. They could offload those sound stages, or not all of them obviously, but some of them, to the Fox lot. And you can expand the Universal Studios Hollywood theme park. That would be a big benefit too. But yeah, like on paper, it sounds great. But the debt load and the money, that's part of it though. You know what I'm saying?
And what's crazy is, here's what sucks for Comcast. They have the most to lose if they don't buy Warner Brothers. By far. It's not even close. Between the licensing and distribution rights for Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, which is rumored to go into the new Universal Studios park. They're incorporating SpongeBob SquarePants into their new regional park, which is owned by Paramount. the entire horror lineup of Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema, which is arguably the largest in Hollywood. Okay. Whoever buys this company is going to want to renegotiate the licensing and distributing rights for everything. It doesn't matter if Warner Brothers, or it doesn't matter if Universal Studios has a long-standing relationship with Warner Brothers. Everything gets renegotiated, which again means it's going to cut into their margins. And this is just more. This is just, OG talks about this a lot. The biggest problem with Comcast Universal right now is, even though they have a great selection of IP, they don't have enough to be a full-fledged theme park. Right. Which is why they license out so much stuff. Now, it works to their benefit in one aspect, because as things become unpopular, they can just end the agreement and they move on to something else. But this is where they run into the problem, where now they're going to have to pay a premium for things that they got at a discount because Warner Brothers was at a disadvantage. Remember, all the agreements they've been making with Paramount and Warner Brothers have been while they've been hurting. All right. So when AOL bought Warner Brothers, I think they bought it for $108 million. Then like 4 years later, it was valued at $40 million.
Yeah.
So Universal has all the leverage when it comes to merchandise and licensing deals. Well, now that Zaslav has bumped up the value back up to $75 million. Well, you're going to have to give me some more money if you want to, get the licensing rights for Freddy Krueger and next year's Halloween Horror Nights. And Paramount's going to do the same thing. I mean, it really doesn't matter who's going to buy Warner Brothers at this point. The fact of the matter is that their biggest competitor is going to hurt if they don't get this if they don't get these IPs, because they're built into the overall theme park strategy. And like Comcast is really put between a rock and a hard spot. And I don't know if they're going to, I mean, like, guys, can they get capital investors to front up the money? Do they want to do that?
That's the thing. Could they? Probably. Do they want to? Is a whole other thing. I mean, I don't. That's my biggest thing. There is like, it makes, like you were saying, they have the most to lose. It makes a lot of sense on paper, outside of just the debt load and all that. I guess that's the big. Now, if they're looking at it, one would assume that they think that they can, but I don't think they've made an official offer from what I have heard. Now, here's a question: Disney bought 20th Century Fox, and let's play a hypothetical that Comcast buys Warner Brothers. Which do you think would end up being the better acquisition? Would it have been Disney buying Fox, or do you think it potentially would be Comcast getting Warner Brothers?
I think it'd be Comcast taking Warner Brothers by far, not even close. I think so too. Because the flywheel is, because Comcast's flywheel is already incorporating Warner Brothers IP into it, and has been for over a decade.
Well, and Warner Brothers has stronger IP than Fox.
Yeah.
And especially when you're talking about theme park IP. Because, like, okay, you have things like Home Alone, but you can't do anything with that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I mean, Warner Brothers has a bajillion and a half things you can pull from.
I'm sorry, I disagree. I think a Home Alone ride is going to.
Go ahead.
I think a Home Alone ride would kill it.
No, I was saying you get a Home Alone again. It's like Macaulay Culkin now at his age. He's like, I'm Home Alone again. You're like all these remakes from like 30 years later, and somehow it works or something like that. It wouldn't be too surprising.
I got to give Macaulay some credit, man. I mean, he landed Brenda Song. He's a baddie.
I'm really happy for Macaulay. It's funny. I actually saw some pictures of him. I guess it was like some red carpet event. He had a really nice burgundy tuxedo on, and I was like, you know what? I'm glad for Macaulay, because his situation when he was growing up sucked.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. No, he's doing great now, and they're a great couple and everything, and it's good to see them thriving. But no, I mean, the Comcast Universal purchase of WB would be epic, dude. No pun intended, but it would be absolutely insanely good. It would completely transform that company. Where you want to talk about Disney getting nervous, that's what would make Disney nervous, because that's not just a park. That changes the game going forward. You're not buying the can of the carton of milk. You're buying the whole cow.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. I mean,
and not just for like the sci-fi, but the horror element as well, which is Universal's bread and butter. So if you want to talk about a good caretaker for all their New Line Cinema stuff, dude, you're talking about like Freddy Krueger, The Exorcist, the Conjuring movies, the whole, like you said, the whole cow. They would own it, and they could do whatever they want. They could do Halloween Horror Nights without buying license agreements. They do rides. their revenue for for their HHNs would skyrocket. They don't have to negotiate anything because they own it. Profitability would be out the roof.
Yeah.
So
no, it would be insane, dude. It would be insane. And all that stuff. I mean, we talk a lot about too. Universal's trying to tap into that more of that younger demographic, right? Universal has always been more of an edgier sort of brand when it comes to the theme parks and what have you. Warner Brothers would open the floodgates for the younger demos between all the Hanna-Barbera stuff with the Scooby-Doo and Dexter's Laboratory and all that stuff, right? I mean, you would have so much to mess with, dude. I'm telling you, it would be amazing. If Comcast can pull this off, dude, Disney, this is what would make Disney nervous, 1,000%, you know? And I hope they can do it, man. I think it's really, really good. It's really, really good to have that competition. I think it's healthy for Disney. I think it's great for Universal, and you know, I don't know, but a big shout to Maybe in the chat. What's going on, Maybe? But yeah, so I just think it'd be a great move, but it's that debt load. You know what I'm saying? I mean, how are they going to overcome that? I don't know. I really don't. But how does Netflix and all them compare though in regards to debt? I mean, are they in similar situations, or is it? I mean, do you know?
Yeah, so Netflix has a lot more cash flow. That's how they're able to, produce 50 movies a month.
Yeah.
But the problem with Netflix is Netflix is a content company. They make content. Warner Brothers is a legendary studio from Hollywood that dates back 100 years. You know what I mean? And for Netflix to buy Warner Brothers, I mean, it's like, it's like oil. It's like olive oil and water. I just don't see how they mix. And being that Comcast is primarily still, despite the fact that we're talking about the studios and the theme parks, I think the majority of their revenue is still the broadband telecommunications, if I'm not mistaken. Let's say they buy the whole cow. Are they going to buy it? First and foremost. Secondly, are they going to require Comcast to spin off their telecommunications segment of the company before making a purchase? And I'm pretty sure that anybody at this point is going to want them to spin it off because it's going to give them a discount.
Well, and I don't even think they would. I mean, I don't want to speak for Comcast, but I feel like they're in a lot of ways trying to at least slowly move away from that cable biz stuff. And that's why we're seeing them be so aggressive with the theme park build outs, right? Because they understand that cable broadband thing is sort of a melting ice cube.
Yeah.
They're trying to get away from that stuff. And they're going all in on the park stuff because they're trying to get into another industry and kind of offset that. So I wonder if, the regulators, remember that song?
Yeah, of course.
Mount up. No, but in all seriousness, I mean, maybe they wouldn't even mind so much to kind of offload it, because maybe that's the goal anyway, right? Maybe they don't really want to be. I mean, obviously within reason, they don't want to completely, cut it, cold turkey. But like, I wonder if they wouldn't mind, kind of, cutting some of that stuff off. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out, though.
I think it's going to be necessary in order for a deal to be made, because none of these companies want to buy more than they want to pay for. And even though Warner Brothers Discovery wants to sell it at a premium, which I understand it, if it's valued at $74 billion, and again, there's going to be a third party valuation being performed to really give it a real accurate price, same way that Hulu has done. There is going to be some stuff that is spin off. What is spin off and what is kept. I mean, I think we can all figure that out. It's all about the IPs, baby. But Lucas and Disney here says Netflix is popular because it is still the best streaming service platform with quality of life than other platforms. Well, Netflix is the number one platform in terms of subscription. That is true. However, I don't think that there's very many people that could say that Netflix has the highest quality content. And the reason that is because Netflix plays a numbers game. Okay. They would rather put out 50 okay movies or 50 season ones of a show that never go on to season 2 because they get canceled after the first season. And they like to do this rinse and repeat process. And every now and then they'll put out a golden gem. but it's rare. Warner Brothers, on the other hand, right now, they have actually built a reputation under Zaslav as to actually increasing the quality of their studio division. Not so much in a lot of other aspects. Like I think that when it comes to Looney Tunes, obviously they've fallen off. When it comes to some other things, they're not doing as great as well. I mean, they're trying to jumpstart the Harry Potter franchise again, which will certainly be interesting. But when it comes to the actual movies themselves, they've done a fantastic job. Now they've, in the process, picked up guys like Villeneuve who've done the Dune series. They've done the Willy Wonka sequel, which was very popular. They've done a lot of movies which have the word Academy or award thrown around them. And Warner Brothers is going to want to keep that pedigree. And unless Netflix can keep the streaming house and the theatrical house completely separate, I think there's a really good chance there that Netflix would contaminate Warner Brothers in terms of the quality of the content they produce, just simply for the fact that they look at things as content more than actual art pieces.
That's a fair point. Now, Big Samus brings up an interesting idea here. Comcast would need a partner to buy WB. Would they partner with Disney to buy them? Now, this is interesting because Comcast and Disney just had a divorce with Hulu.
Yeah.
So would they want to get involved again, together to go in on Warner?
We talked about this the last time. I don't think Disney wants anything to do with this as they're getting a new CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I think Disney has too many IPs anyway. I mean, they own too much stuff.
And what would Disney's role even be? Like, they're not going to back them financially. But, right. I mean, a partner does make sense. I mean, you would probably get a partner that's not in the same space, like an investment firm. Now, that I could see.
Well, now, could you see, Comcast and maybe like Apple?
That's what I was going to say. I'd partner with Apple because Apple can bring the tech to the house, and for them, it'd be very easy to integrate with Warner Brothers and HBO Max and all the apps. And so if you bring the technology.
Apple's been rumored to buy Disney forever, which I never have thought is an actual thing. But Apple's interesting. So is Amazon. I just think that I wonder just what the traditional studios look at them as not a place to put their IPs. I guess that would be the question. But
that's the big problem because the Writers Guild Association doesn't even like the idea of Paramount buying
I know
Warner Brothers, and they're a studio.
So, yeah. Well, what do you guys think about that? By the way, that's gonna be a big hurdle for Paramount. I think
because they're so unproven how they're set up now. I mean, I guess you could say you do have what's his name? He used to run the Disney animation. I'm drawing a blank.
Lasseter.
He is with Paramount. So you're talking about the WB animation side. You do have the potential of him being in charge of that. So I guess that could be viewed as a plus. But I think given the Ellisons in charge are an unproven commodity in many ways would probably be the hurdle there. And Brian, who works for Universal, says Universal will never partner with Disney for anything. I kind of get that same.
Yeah. Well, Brian, you're right. Except for their fight against AI stuff. I think they're.
Well, that's true. They all have a vested interest in the enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of thing.
100%. Yeah. But I do want to thank Seymour for gifting a OG55 membership. Thank you so much, Seymour. We appreciate it, brother.
All the way from the Duck Pond up north.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
At this point.
Absolutely. Yeah, Seymour's a great dude. If everybody at home, follow him on X, and he's a contributor on OG55, but he does a lot of great financial analysis, investment stuff, and also a big nerd. He loves anime and VTubers and all that stuff. So good dude, or should I say a good duck?
Good duck. See, I just rely on Seymour and Slimer for my financial analysis because if I try it, it's just I can go on the vibes of it and then the actual numbers. And I'm just like, I totally understand what you guys are saying, but I get what you're saying.
Right.
It's not much. Seymour also says whoever acquires Warner Brothers is going to acquire a lot of debt. I think it's going to be much more severe than Disney owning Fox.
Oh,
yeah. The debt load is definitely something. And I think I looked it up at one point. I think Comcast, they don't have the most debt. They're like top 10 in terms of companies with the amount of debt that they have. Like AT&T has a ton, massive debt load on their company. And granted, in the modern day of businesses, you can carry heavier debt loads and still operate. It just, I just don't think that. I don't know. I personally, I wouldn't want to add on another 70+ billion in debt, but I'm not also running a major corporation.
I mean, if the Ellisons are looking to buy something for a few billion, they can buy me for a few billion. I'll take it. I have no problem if they really want to spend it.
We all have our prices.
Yeah,
Storybook Sources says, "Will Mr. Duck fly south for the winter?"
There you go.
He might. I don't know.
Hey, Mr. Duck, if you're gonna fly south to California. Let's hang out, buddy.
fly out there. All right. Anything else you guys want to add about this potential merger, or I don't know what you guys talked about when I was gone. You guys may have already wrapped this up.
Do you guys think they're going to want to close the deal by the end of the year? I think they will.
I think so.
I would assume.
Yeah,
I would assume. It's just you have so few suitors. Like, I don't really know if it's not Comcast, but it's not Paramount, then it's Netflix or Apple or something like that. Like, you really don't have that many, unless there's just unless Elon Musk or somebody like that just says, like, "Hey, I want it." But outside of that, I don't really know who else would be really even able to do it.
I think the dark horse out of all those companies is going to be Apple, simply because they have so much free cash flow. They could just buy cash, they could buy the debt.
So much cash.
It wouldn't even affect them, and they would grow their library substantially. And I think that the fact that they're a tech company, it would be very easy for them to integrate HBO Max and Warner Brothers and all these IPs and across all their portable devices. And Apple, again, it's a legacy American brand. And so Warner Brothers plus Apple, I think, even though they don't have the same flywheel or even a compatible flywheel at the moment for a company like Warner Brothers Discovery, I think that Tim Cook can actually resolve that relatively quickly. I think they're the dark horse that could come in and take everything. I think Paramount still could probably happen. My only concern with Paramount is that they would just be absorbing the company. I really don't think that they would do anything meaningful with Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, it's crazy, but and Lucas is right. Like, Netflix has a lot of K-dramas, which are massively popular. Again, I mean, Korea is absolutely killing it right now with music and entertainment in general. But yeah, Netflix has a strong library when it comes to that. So
That's very true. That's very true. All right, let's move on to, let's talk about 3D attractions here, because we have Remy's Ratatouille is moving to become a 2D attraction. And, this is interesting because I do think with Disney, some of this, I do know they wanted to turn Flight of Passage into a 2D attraction. Basically, Imagineering told them, like, if you do that, everyone's going to throw up on this ride. So they have, because the 3D glasses are kind of expensive, and I think that's a cost they don't want to do, and that's been an issue. If you ride Flight of Passage, I don't know if you've ridden it lately, Slimer, but it's not like super clear when you're looking at it, and a lot of it is because that plastic kind of ages and it gets hazy, and you have to replace them, and they're expensive. They don't want to do that. So I wonder how much of this is cost cutting, or how much of this is actually maybe feedback from the guests. Like, my wife doesn't care. She gets motion sick, so she doesn't like 3D stuff. Like, I think 3D stuff is kind of a gimmick for the most part. But do you think when it comes to theme parks, obviously Universal's known for simulators and things of that nature at a lot of places, but both Disney and Universal have them. Do you think 3D is kind of done going forward?
I don't think it's done, but at the same time, it's not going to be like used for everything. Like, it's not going to be the big thing as it once was, right? I think Disney and Universal are looking for ways to cut 3D where they can, right? So I talked to Hey Bricky on my channel about this last night, where there's going to be attractions that are just going to be that they're going to keep with 3D because they're better with 3D. Like, a Midway Mania would kind of suck if you didn't have the 3D.
True.
Because there's not much there to it. Like, there's not a lot of big set pieces or anything like that, right? But then there's attractions like Star Tours, where it's like, do you really need the 3D? I mean, how much does the 3D really add to that experience? You have the motion already. It's a cool experience. You got the animatronic, and all that, the C-3PO. You don't really need the 3D on that one. So I think Disney and Universal, they're going to look at certain case-by-case attractions and what have you, and kind of cut where they feel like they can cut. Because you're right, it is expensive to produce the glasses. You also have to pay a cast member to stand in front of the bucket to make sure people put the glasses back in the bucket. Then you got to have a cast member that has to clean them. It's a lot of money spent for that, when you can just, I mean, we live in an era now where these screens are so crystal clear. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, do you really need the 3D, right?
Yeah.
Like Soarin', for example, is a great attraction. No 3D. I mean, you know, another thing too, I talked to Bricky about this last night on the video. With things like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, like, honestly, you have that 2.5 3D kind of effect where like the scenes like change, right? It's kind of a cool like effect that you got going on there with that attraction. You can utilize other things besides 3D glasses. Like, you can utilize like the Mickey and Minnie's tech in a lot of these new rides, right? So I think there's other options, but I think that's the direction they're going to kind of go, where limited 3D, but not completely gone, and then kind of leaning into other options like the Mickey and Minnie's tech.
Yeah. And before I missed this a second ago, Mr. Seymour Duck with a 5 Canadian. Thank you, kind duck, sir, yourself. Appreciate that. I saw the green there, and it took me a minute, so hopefully he saw that. So if I didn't get you in time, Seymour, my apologies. Yeah, no, I agree. I think if you look at, say, Epic with Monsters Unchained, it's like a unique thing with using animatronics with the screens that kind of create that same effect.
Right.
And I think audiences are kind of past, like, when you talk about, like, I want Back to the Future to come back. That is a rumor out there that could happen of a comeback of that ride, but I don't think people are wanting it necessarily exactly how that ride was, like something better than just a screen simulator. And I do wonder, all the reasons you stated as well, if these things get phased out just because audiences are just kind of like, like, you know, and 3D kind of does this though. It kind of like it gets, you know, kind of popular, and then it wanes off, then it comes back. So like, if we're seeing this tail off now, we'll probably see a comeback of it in like 10 years or 15 years. I mean, 3D TVs were like the big thing like a decade ago, and those never really caught on too much. So I feel like 3D is always that gimmick thing you can throw out there, but I don't know how much audiences, like, I'd be very curious once this goes to 2D, like, what's the difference here? Like, is there a massive difference or just not much?
Well, and that's why I brought up Mickey and Minnie's, because I feel like there's ways to create depth without having the glasses. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you can play like these kind of visual tricks to kind of make it look like there's more depth than there maybe really is. You know, so I think that they're gonna want to lean into that.
I agree with that. I mean, look at the screen technology in what is it called? Jesus, I'm having a brain fart. Monsters Unchained.
Yeah.
Monsters Unchained. Yeah. So the screen technology in that achieves a contrast level. So contrast is the difference between black and a dark and a bright segment of the screen. But the contrast it achieves is supremely better than what you would see in like Forbidden Journey or anything that you would see 5 years ago. I would even argue even better than Flight of Passage. And that contrast, whatever screen technology they're using, I would assume they're probably using laser projection, or maybe they're even using micro LED screens.
I'm pretty sure they're micro LED screens.
Yeah, if they're micro LED screens, these things have an infinite contrast ratio. And what that contrast ratio does is it actually gives it depth that you wouldn't get otherwise. So, which is why if you're riding Forbidden Journey, for example, and you're sitting in front of those, where what used to be a 3D experience, and you're flying through, flying on the broomsticks while they're playing, what's that game in Quidditch? You notice that it doesn't look at 3D. It's not immersive at all. It's because the projectors that they're using are probably only throwing about a 3001 or 5001 contrast ratio, where these micro LEDs are hitting these deep inky blacks. And I think that might be the way moving forward, because if you can create depth without having to use 3D, you resolve a lot of problems. And by the way, if you haven't heard this conversation with Hey Bricky and Orange Grove, go on to Orange Grove 55 right after this and go listen to that, because that's a really good conversation, and they lead into some future technologies which are a little bit down the road, but I think that they're kind of moving in that direction. But Jared, I think overall the point is that I think they're going to be using 3D a lot more selectively. I think there's going to be future advents of technology which are going to make 3D look like Elijah Wood in Back to the Future 2 saying you got to use your hands when he was playing the duck shooting game. But there's instances where 3D is absolutely necessary, like Terminator 2 3D. So, they're just, I think they're just going to be more selective as to how they're going to be incorporating 3D moving forward.
I agree with you. And actually, one effect in Star Tours that actually works really, really cool is when I think it's Naboo, when the ship the front end of that ship comes crashing through your windshield.
Oh yeah,
that's like one of my favorites. You know, I love that. But by and large, I mean, I can kind of do without it. But Lucas and Disney sends a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Lucas. Thank you so much. 3D screens burn out and get blurry faster, and when overly used, it got worse since launch because it's always used 24/7. Never had issue during the launch. There you go.
Yeah, and I've noticed on Flight of Passage alone that the screen quality. I don't know if it'd be the screen of the glasses. Like it's much more blurry than it used to be. So I think, yeah, I think there's something to it. Like I think things have trends, and like I don't know. Somebody said, I think it was Vinton Solar said they did this in Paris. They did, and I'm not saying it's like a knee-jerk reaction or anything. I just wonder what the audience like if they're seeing it, people not wanting to mess with the 3D glasses as much, sort of thing. And I think like I said that when I wrote Monsters Unchained, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is what they're gonna do, is like these insane animatronics with these vivid screens, because it creates that depth like Mickey. And you can do it Mickey Minnie's on an animation side. There's a lot of ways you can do it, and I think that would be more inventive than just having a screen and you're shaking in a car that makes it kind of like 3D. Like I think Epic Universe kind of shows that it's like what audiences expect is more than just that sort of aspect of it.
Yeah, well said.
That's a good point.
Kiki and Lucas said, Jared, I thought your show about Disney influencers ruining guest experience was interesting, but I just wanted to point out that a lot of people can't visit parks for various reasons. Yeah, and like that discussion was, and like I had brought up too, this was on our podcast, my wife and I had talked about this. There's pros. The topic was social media influencing theme parks. Like there's pros to it, of course. I've just seen a lot of, honestly, it's the streamers that have been getting kind of aggressive in the parks, that a lot of it, like even just people that have even told me just offhand of like, oh, I'm just being really like, these streamers are annoying me, is way more than I remember hearing like 5 years ago. And I do wonder at some point, like, I don't think vloggers are as much of an issue. There's obviously going to be some out of every group, but it has its pros. Like if you can't go, you check out the parks and things like that. But I do wonder about some of the bad behavior of certain ones in certain categories, and what might the parks do if they felt they needed to do something. Was kind of the whole discussion of that.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to like the vlogging and all that stuff, I think that if you're doing something where it's just like for example, what Dave from Fresh Bake does, where he just goes there and he just kind of films like them building the new Avengers ride, and he's commenting on what you're looking at. I think that's harmless. I think there's nothing wrong, you know. But when it comes to like, I think when streamers make like
Jack Doherty going to Magic Kingdom and interviewing people,
yes, that and like
was
that, and like, you know, playing like games and stuff where you can potentially be like disruptive to people around you and all that. I think that's where you kind of get into like the problem stuff, right? But if you're off doing your thing and just filming and kind of, that's fine. I just think, yeah, when you start to disrupt the guest experience, that's when it starts to become a little problematic. You know what I'm saying?
No, I completely agree. And just real quick, Kika and Luca, thank you for the 5. Appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, it was an interesting topic because my wife and I had been just in our private group. A lot of people have been talking about that. And there's a video, I can't remember who it was, but this girl was all these instances of these, it was mostly streamers, if I'm being honest, that were like yelling at people in the parks and like pushing past people. And I think that's like you were saying, when you start impacting the guest experience, at what point does it hit a point and like, what would Disney look at something and really what could they do? Because they're not going to get rid of vlogging or streaming in general, because that affects the everyday guest as well. But is it some like, it's usually some ancillary rule they find that kind of like impacts them in some ways, but there always probably workarounds to it. I'm always curious as to if they did do anything, what it would be. Because like they were pointing to it, like the people that they go to the outlet malls and like they basically throw everything in their tote cart, and on like while they're live, people claim stuff, then they get it. So if you went there to buy something, you essentially couldn't even get anything hardly, because all of the resellers have it hoarded into their tote bags, waiting to see people online are going to pay extra for it. And like those things are so small, if you have 10 people doing that, that can become an issue in terms of just people in that store at that time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a problem. It is because you know, unfortunately, a lot of creators, they don't take into consideration. Here's the issue too. A lot of influencers or content creators that do that kind of thing are locals who have been to these parks a bajillion and a half times.
Right.
But you have to be cognizant that you might be standing next to that family that's having that once in a lifetime visit. And they don't want to deal with the person who's going there and disrupting the experience. And you know, I mean, I don't blame them. You know, you spend how much money to be there. So it's a balancing out. But at the same time, I think that there is a place to have content and live streams and stuff like that. But as creators, though, we have to be respectful, and it's a big responsibility. We can't go in there and be disruptive. And that's the issue that I have with it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even interviewing, I wouldn't even mind so much interviewing. But when you're harassing people, hey, can I talk to you? Hey, can I talk to you? I mean, look, if you naturally are sitting at a table and you meet a couple at this table and you guys are having a conversation and it comes up, hey, I'm a content creator. You want to do like a little video together right now or something? That's different than someone like flagging people down. So there's always a little bit of nuance, you know, but it's all in how you do it and like, you know, just the disruptiveness of it all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There's I like to use Bricky as a really good example of somebody that knows how to create boundaries between his filming and everybody that's trying to enjoy their experience at the park, because he has phenomenal content inside the parks. Dude. He has a story. It's engaging. You know, he's usually taking some really good shots, but you never notice like Bricky, like going out of his way to ruin anybody's experience. He's very subtle about it. You know, he'll set up a corner, his camera in the corner, he'll stand in front of it, walk up to it, introduce a story. Okay. But like you would pass by him in the park and be like, oh yeah, that's a guy doing his own thing. In no way is he being disruptive to everybody else. That video you were talking about though, Jared, there was the guy that was being really disruptive at the very beginning of the video when she was talking about this supposed vlogger. He was yelling across the way, pointing at actually Theme Park Casual and Barry Place 28. And he was like, hey, you know them over there? Like, you need to get their autograph. And Barry Place 28 and Theme Park Casual were just like, we're just kind of doing our own thing. We don't know you. Have a great day.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the kinds of people that unfortunately I've never seen one in the wild. But
I have. I've seen quite a few. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to knock that off.
Oh no, you're fine.
You had Vin and Solars had a gifted membership to Orange Grove 55. Thank you. I was gonna highlight Brian here said, I hate when a streamer gets on rides talking loudly into the phone and camera. I have seen people do that in the Haunted Mansion where they're talking all the way through the pre-show. And it's like, that's the thing too. Like we used to do vlogging when we first started doing YouTube. And I have a lot of respect for people that do it. It's a lot of work. It's a grind. But my whole thing was always not impeding other people. Because I'm one of those people too. When I go to Costco, I'm amazed at the amount of people that just stop in the middle of an aisle and just stare around. I'm like, there's other people. So I was always like, when you film, it's like, go off to the side. Like you're not trying to impact other people. Like I'm tall, so I wasn't going to hold my camera way up high to block other people's view and things like that. But I think all it takes is one, you know, like anything else in life, a small percentage of people cause a problem for everybody else. And it might just be 1% of it. But as more people want to do vlogging and streaming, the chances of you getting more into that bad group kind of, you know, gets higher.
Well, yeah. And here's the issue. You mentioned Slimer, you mentioned Bricky, right?
Right.
Ricky's a nerd who loves this stuff like we do, right?
Yep.
So he goes in there and he's respecting his surroundings. He's doing it for the art and for the content, right? A lot of people want to be, a lot of creators though are not in it for the nerdiness. They're in it for
the opportunity.
I want to be famous, right?
Right.
So that's where you get into like the showmanship, and that's when you start to get into the interrupting the people around you stuff, right? So because it's not about, hey, this is pretty dope, let's analyze the construction, whatever. It's about being, you know, the center of attention. So you can become famous on the internet. That's where it becomes disruptive, I think, potentially. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and then you also have too, like when there's more people doing it, it becomes more of creating a spectacle to get views. So it's I'm going to go to the parks and I'm going to do something crazy because I'm going to get views here. And then it becomes like your crazy antics are causing just the everyday family to be annoyed. And it's like, at one point, like, is there a balance where it just becomes too much? And my whole question was even if Disney felt they needed to do something, I don't really know what they could do, because obviously the vloggers and those people give Disney and Universal free media, like they utilize them, so they're not going to ban it. But I think in my at least personal experience, I've seen more bad behavior from the streamers. And they're the ones that are like, I mean, I couldn't imagine. That sounds like on my own personal hell to walk around a theme park for 7 hours straight, just talking and doing all that stuff. But they're constantly like, I've been in a show in the outdoor theater at Epcot, and the entire time the guy's talking to his chat. And you're like, shut up. Like, just shut up. Like, if they're watching your stream, I figure they probably want to watch the people that are performing and not listen to you talk anyways. But it's just stuff like that where the common courtesy is just not there. That becomes a nuisance. And I agree with Rogue Attraction. I still think TikTok dancers are the worst. I agree.
They are the worst.
And I've seen people do TikTok dances in the parks, and I'm just like, I have secondhand cringe from it. I was like, oh, gosh.
Yeah, that's so ick, man.
Ugh, I get, Pizza and Park Op says, one streamer in particular will discuss his camera angle throughout his entire stream to his viewers. It's so annoying. Like, dude, just let people watch the stream and live in the moment. Yeah. The streamers ones are the ones that I think are the most nuisance-s, I guess you could say. But it's also going to come with the territory as, people want to do more stuff. But I enjoy doing this. Like, I like sitting down, having a conversation, long form, and not like. I remember we quit vlogging. I talked about on the podcast where we had just moved to Florida, and we were going to the Villains After Hours event. And I left my camera in the car, and we were on the monorail to the Magic Kingdom. And I was like, oh, gosh dang. And it's 45 minutes back if you want to go back and get it. And I was like, we'll just use our phones. And then we found ourselves like, we were just really enjoying ourselves. And I was like, I realized I was doing a lot of the stuff where I wasn't experiencing it. It was all just for the views. Like, there's all this pressure to like, oh, I got to get this shot. I got to do this. And I would much rather just experience stuff and then talk about it later.
Yes.
And for me, I was like, I'm much happier doing it this way versus I was trying to fit into the mold of doing vlogging. And it's never anything like wasn't super comfortable doing it. And it was just something I just didn't care that much about. So it's just like, we're not going to do it. But I just never wanted to be a nuisance on it.
Well, plus I feel this format is more rare in this community, so it's more unique. I think. I think a lot of what like the in-park stuff, and there's a lot of great vloggers, but I think it's more saturated. I think there's more people doing that.
Very saturated. Yeah.
Now, what I think is cool, if you want to do something different, is like what Hollow Gelato and Orange Grove do, which is to have bar chats. And I think that if you were to because like you're making it more like a 60 minutes now. And if you want to get like really, if you want to get like really complex and eccentric with it, you can do like a clip at this bar and then a clip at this bar and then tie it all into like one conversation. If you were so inclined to do something like that. Now, I think that would be cool. Maybe like a walk and talk, and somebody can film two people having a conversation in a park.
That's cool. Yeah.
Like 60 minutes, right? I think that'd be fun. But then again, it's like you have to be within proximity of the park. You'd have to be willing to go there just to do that. It'd probably have to be scripted. You'd have to decide like what bars you're going to film the same conversation in, and then like do voiceovers about what you guys were discussing later to like make it as like as 60 minutes as possible. So now you've turned it into a whole production, whereas like how we like to do, we just like the organic experience. We take it all in. We think about it. We ruminate. We go, oh, you know what? I actually noticed this. Hey, OG, did you? Blah, 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 blah. And then we turn it into a podcast. And for me, that works. Maybe it's because I was born in the early 80s. But
well, it's also more fun. Like I also find, and by the way, real quick, Kiki and Luca, Jared, aka CapTheMagic podcast was very good. Everyone check it out. I thank you. And by the way, that channel is almost at 1,000 subs. It's at CTM Podcast. If you guys subscribe over there, that'd be great. But my wife and I have a podcast where we talk about in-park stuff at Disney World, Universal Studios, like tips, reviews, and stuff like here we talk much more like high level, like ideas and news, but over there it's kind of like tips and things you can use in the park. So if you guys want to subscribe over there, that would be awesome because I'm trying to get that to 1,000. No, I think like, and even like I'm the type of person when I see a movie, a lot of times it takes me like 2 days to digest and really like my initial reaction will kind of change after I ruminate on it a little bit. And then even like that with like sometimes talking to you guys and you'll bring up a point and I'm like, that's a really good point. I didn't think about that. So I'm like, I'm never married to my ideas. And many times I like having kick it back and forth and just having a good discussion on something versus on vlogging. It was like 30 seconds or people and it's all about like people are going to lose interest. And it's just like, that seems, it just gets exhausting on some level to constantly like having to edit videos to like retain people. And you're competing with hundreds of other channels are doing the same thing, unless you're just this, one of the few massive ones out there. So, for me, I enjoy doing this and chilling with you guys and everybody else that does this. And I think it's a lot more fun this way, personally speaking, but
absolutely.
Let's see if
and then it gives you an opportunity to spend, like when you go to the when you go to the parks, you're spending more time with your kids, your wife, your family. You're in the moment, like you were saying, and then you can come back and then you can nerd out with us and we could talk shop. And it's kind of the best of both worlds in a lot of ways.
And that was a thing too. I noticed, and we talked about this before about like, especially when you have kids, your kids get older, and like I noticed there were times once we had our second son. I mean, I don't know if you ever tried to vlog with children, but it's almost impossible. And so I remember one time we were filming something and my daughter wanted to go ride something. My initial reaction was like, hold on, I got to do this thing. And I caught myself and I'm like, you're an idiot. And I just like dropped the camera and I was like, yes, let's go do this thing you want to do. And I was like, and I just felt like you were saying, being in the moment, be there with the kids. And then and I like doing this more anyways and not having to feel like you got to get all this extra content. I think that just gets very like exhausting on that side. Let's see.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Rogue said Disney is claiming more music that will stop people eventually.
Well, and that explains why the music is so loud in Epic Universe. You really think about it.
That could be. That's a good point. I've actually wondered if they do that. It's been so long since I've done vlogging. I don't know. I didn't know if they did that or not. We got Don Ray says, let's effing go. Let's go. Do I have a go? Do I have a good one here for that? Do I? No, I don't. Okay. I got some more sounds on my board. Let's see. Vinton Solar says, yes, Jared, the older I have gotten. Oh, maybe it cut off his chat if they had something else there. Kika and Luca said, competition is certainly fierce. You got to do something different or do something better than everyone else. It's very true. And like the grind, like that's the thing too. You can spend all day in a park filming stuff. You spend who knows how many hours you put into it. Especially when you're starting out, you might get like 50 views. You're just like, oh my gosh, I just wasted like 9 hours doing all this.
Well, and the other thing too is I want the theme parks to be a place that I enjoy. I don't want to resent them because I'm always there filming. And that can happen very easily. And a lot of people have this impression, well, no, I love the theme parks. Yeah, you love them when you go there for fun. But if you're going there to video record and vlog, and no, you are now transforming why you go to the theme parks into something completely different, which means that your reason for liking them is now going to change. And so I think a lot of people forget that. You have to be willing to do this. And me personally, Jared, I'm like you. I'm not willing to do that. I want the theme parks to be a place that I can go back to and enjoy from now until I decide that I just don't enjoy theme parks anymore, whatever that is.
Yeah. I mean, it's really easy. Anything can become a job. Like you'll hear people that are even super successful and they resent the thing that makes them money because at some point, if you don't balance that out, it can become where you almost dread it, which I've worked in warehouses before. So like, listen, this is not a job. This is fun to do. So anytime I hear people being like, my job is so hard, you're making video. I'm like, it's not that hard. Let's be honest. Although I did enjoy driving a fork truck. I'm not going to lie. That was actually kind of fun.
Those are fun.
What's up, Natasha? She said, this is teaching me how to be a YouTuber because I just started. Well, that's awesome. In the theme park area or somewhere else. And I'm also one of those people. I think that I think you get some of these people that also think too, like there's only if you come in, then I get less. I was like, I kind of live by that abundant mentality. I'm just like, the more people that do something, that just means there's more interest in it and you get more opportunities to meet cool people to do stuff. Remedy says, what I want to know is, what do theme park food vloggers do with the food in their mouth? Do they spit it out? Some of them throw away a lot of food, which goes against, like, I don't ever throw food away. I am the garbage disposal with my family. But I have seen, there was one, I don't think it was theme park related, but they showed these, I think they were like food vloggers, and they were like filming themselves. They're showing this thing. The minute the camera turned off, there's just like, they just look like they hated their lives. I was like, that is so depressing to think about that. Like, you just hate what you're doing so much, or you're putting on a face. And that's oh, go ahead.
Well, no, and you know what, though? People like that think they're hiding it, but it always comes through. You can always tell.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's like, I think you guys are the same way, but like a lot of people from the podcast, like we've been doing the podcast for like 8 years. So I've been doing YouTube on this channel way less than we've been doing the podcast, but people will meet me and be like, oh, you're very like, you're like you are on the show. I'm like, I've always been that type of person. Like, I never have been like a certain way with this group of friends and this way with another group of people. Like, I'm just who I am, for better or for worse. So it's like, who you see on here, like, I'm exactly the same, except I mean, outside of that, I like to simplify my life. So it's like, I don't know. I would never want to create like this fake persona that I have to try and keep up. That just sounds exhausting to me.
Yeah, no, we're all just as much fun in the group chats as we are in the live in the live streams. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about this stuff most of the time privately.
Usually. I know I did make that little intro video, and I was just like, "Oh, they're gonna get a kick out of this." Like, as I'm making it, I was just giggling to myself like a little kid.
Dude, the intro for those of you watching, if you are just tuning in now, make sure you after the show check out the very beginning of this live. Jared did an amazing AI intro. I mean, Mr. Rogers, and was it Bob Ross is in
Bob
there?
Ross. I'll play it at the outro before we go. I'll play it again. It's in here. So we'll make it. Yeah, I thought, and I kind of want to do that. We just have a different one each time. I just play. I do have some Macho Mans in the deck. I didn't pull out yet, but he was threatening me. If I'm being honest, I felt a little intimidated, but it's okay.
We got to save the Macho.
Exactly. FannyBot says, if you think you love theme parks, it won't feel like work, but it might still be stressful. I've had a few conversations with some people that are pretty bigger. I won't name them out here, but they at times have said it can feel like a slog at times, even if you love the theme parks. And also, I think too, when you get bigger, there becomes this pressure that some people feel. And then that adds a whole other thing to it. But I mean, I think honestly, anything can become a quote job if you let it. You kind of have to work at like keeping a balance on things. And there's been times when my wife and I were just like, we're gonna chill going for a little bit, just because, like, you know, we felt like it was becoming much more of it wasn't for fun. It was just much more of like not a burden, but I don't know. It just wasn't like you weren't where you want to be mentally. We're just like, okay, we'll just chill for a little bit. Like, you
know what I dislike? I dislike it when it becomes, when like every time you go, it feels like the Groundhog Day effect.
Yeah.
Like, I was just here, and you're just like, well, here I go again, walking down Liberty Square again. Like, and sometimes just like, you got to find something else to do, at least for a couple of months, and then come visit this later.
Yeah. No, that's why I'm in my Universal era right now. You know, because it's something it's something different. I mean, I can't do this like you were saying, Slimer. I can't do Groundhog Day. I don't know how people do Disney 3 days a week for like 20 years. Like, in day in, day out.
Or the people that go like every day. First off, like, do you just have a trust fund? Like, I'm like, how do you make money just to go to the parks every single day? I'm like, that. Oh man, that's like, I love working out, but I don't work out every single day. That is.
There's always too much for anything, you know. I love cheesecake, but I'm not going to eat it 6 times a day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that wouldn't go over very well.
I'd be a pretty big boy if I did.
Welcome to 55. You get the jowls that start moving when you start talking.
Orange Grove 555.
There we go. Yeah, exactly.
You'll have an intervention for OG. Like, hey man, we know you like cheesecake, but like, hey, come on,
bro. You know what I'm saying? And maybe says Bob Ross is my Roman Empire. That's funny. I love it.
Bob Ross. I used to watch Bob Ross after school when I was a kid. He was awesome. Pizza and Park Hop said, I saw the Disney food blog people throwing food after a cup before. I've seen that too. And granted, they go and buy like everything at a festival that they could not feasibly all eat. But my Midwestern values, I'm just like, give me that. Like I saw a guy one time, he was throwing away something. He tried one bite and I watched him. He didn't put his fork use back in. He was going to throw it away. I'm like, hold on. You don't want He was like, do you want it? Like, yeah.
Oh man.
It's like, I'll eat
Heck
it.
yeah.
It's like, listen, I took my Flintstones vitamins. I'm good. All right. What have you got? Barney and Fred, they'll take care of that.
You got a COVID shot or two,
Yeah. No problem there at all.
I'm sorry, man. I got my shot. I got one shot, and it was worse. Like the effect of that was worse than the actual COVID. I was on the struggle bus, dude. I wanted to vomit. It was rough, dude. It was rough.
I didn't get any of them. I don't like needles anyways. Like the only reason if I'm being totally honest, the only reason I've never done any like performance enhancing drugs my entire life is because I hate needles. Like I hate them that much. I'm just like, I'm good. But yeah, my brother got the first one. He had the same thing. It was rough for him for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Keegan Lucas said, I hate wasting food too. Yeah. Like or I'll take it with me and eat it later or something. But yeah, I got yelled at a lot. We did not waste food in my household. That was a no. So
same. You better lick that plate clean.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
I think I see some ketchup on there.
Look it down.
Look it down.
Remy D says, best thing I noticed in Disney Tokyo is that everyone there does not waste any food. Plates get cleaned out before they go to the trash.
Oh yeah.
That's that Japanese culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lucas at Disney says, I get plenty of people who expresses that they hate needles. I really do. Although one of these days I'm gonna do TRT, but I'm just hoping I don't have to use the needle. But as of right now, I don't have to yet. So we'll see.
No, me neither. 760. I don't know. My levels are.
I know you were worried. Yeah, I was like, that's a good score. That's not bad at all. Tosh says, why spend money to throw it away? That's a good, especially as expensive as the food is at theme parks. Even if I don't like it, I'm eating it.
Yeah.
I did get it. That's one time, like every once in a while I'll get a beer, and every once in a while I'm like, let me try this beer. And I tried, I hated it. It was terrible. But it was like $12. And I'm like, I'm drinking it. Like I'm gonna slog this thing down. But I mean, after you've had like, I don't know about you, Slimer or OG, but I've had some like terrible protein shakes in my life that you just guzzle down just because you just get it down. So that was me. And it was a drink. I remember it was in Diagon Alley. I remember which beer it was. I did not like it. And my wife was making fun of me because it looked like I was just slogging down like spinach or something. The look on my face. I was like I'm not throwing this thing out. I gotta finish it.
I'm telling you though, that the drinks at these parks are crazy expensive. I mean, like you said, a beer is like $12-13. I mean, which is actually
a value when it comes to alcohol. Because I haven't had one in a while, but like if you get like an old fashioned, they used to be like $14-15. Most of them at Disney now are like 20 something.
Crazy,
I'm like, I'm not like, you can buy a whole thing of bourbon for like 24.
Yeah. That's why you see people pre-gaming it in the parking structure. You're not supposed to do that though. But they do.
Yeah. I did that one time, and security found me really quick. we actually had the trunk open. We had a cooler out and everything. We thought it was we didn't think it was a big deal. We didn't know that we weren't in the park, right? So we figured, we're not in the park. We're allowed to do it here. Nah, not really. Anyways, he told us to get rid of the beers. So instead of getting rid of the beers, we start chugging them because they're already open.
Well, that's
good. He's like, no. He's like, no. He's like, stop drinking the beers. I need you to dump them out. We're like, okay.
I slipped and fell.
Yeah.
That's hilarious, bro. You brought a cooler and everything. I can just imagine that. You're just chilling in the parking truck.
Listen, Slimer's a Florida man. He knows how to handle himself that way.
Yeah. And it was for Halloween Horror Night, so definitely a very universal thing to do. So
that's true. They definitely don't want people walking around there all liquored up at Halloween Horror Nights too much.
Well, it also cuts into their bottom line because if you're drunk before you get in, then you're not buying their drinks.
That's true. I will say, when you go to tailgating parties, I like sporting events, dude. Some of those people are just getting hammered at like 11 a.m. and you're just like. And they'll go in there and have like 4 more beers. I'm just like, my goodness.
But you know what? They do say it's actually better for your body to drink in the morning because it doesn't disrupt your sleep like if you drink at night.
That's true. That actually is true. Also, the one reason I don't drink much is it doesn't help you like performance wise, but it actually turns into estrogen at the very end of it.
Oh, does it?
It takes about like 8 weeks to fully process out of your body, but it definitely like, this is why a lot of times alcoholics have like puffy faces and things because it actually increases your estrogen levels.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm like, I don't want none of that.
Scrambled eggs and scotch in the morning. Is that what you're saying?
I think they offset each other, though.
Absolutely.
Protein with the eggs. Yeah. Natasha says, we just went to Universal, and as a family of 4, we easily spent $1,000 in 4 or so days.
That's
I
crazy.
believe that.
Yeah,
Brian
wild.
said, I saw a YouTuber one time come into Universal store, purchase merchandise after he ended his video, came back and asked for a refund. I wanted to laugh in his face. That does not surprise me, actually. Did you give him the refund? I guess you'd have to. What is the refund policy? I guess you can return stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeez. Let me know if you can't afford it and don't spend money to impress your subscribers. Well, and then there's been cases of people like faking that they have private jets, or they'll rent cars and act like they got a new sports car. Like all that stuff. I'm like, I drive. My grandfather, before he passed away, gave me his 2004 Toyota Avalon that he had. He was the only owner. It had like 70,000 miles on it. And he was like, I want you to have it, just never sell it. I'll drive that thing forever. I always think of my grandfather when I'm in it, and it's a Toyota, and that thing will run until it has 400,000 miles on it. I was like, I just don't care. Like,
yeah,
there's
a lot.
Avalon. There you go.
There's a lot of performative stuff.
Yes,
with that, like you know, a lot of performative stuff. Unfortunately,
Pizza and Park Hop says, if you drink in the parks, you go broke for sure. Especially like drinking around the world. That is a financial commitment.
And the worst part is you don't even get a buzz.
Though a lot of those drinks are watered. Although there is a bartender over in the America Pavilion in that walk-up bar. He pours pretty strong drinks, I will say. But most of them you're getting pretty watered down stuff.
Yeah. I will give a shout out to, I forgot her name, but she was the bartender at the Chucky bar at HHN. And I'm telling you, Tommy and I were like blown away by our drinks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
She crushed it. She crushed it.
Oh, I remember you telling me about that. Yeah. Tommy was even like, she was like, I think you did. Yeah. You showed a video of the pour, and it was a very generous pour, I will say.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Maybe cake.
Maybe cake. I knew that. I was totally going to say that correctly. Toyota girly forever. I love Toyotas. That is basically one of the only cars I will still get. And Remy D said, actually, Epic Universe's drinks are pretty strong. They aren't too bad. See, I usually get a beer because a beer is like $12-$14. You get maybe 16 ounces. I feel like it's more value, and I can walk around and drink it for a while. And I enjoy a beer. Like I had a beer the other weekend or last weekend because our neighbor, our kids were playing with his kids, and he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I was just working. He's like, you want to have a beer? And I'm like, I guess. So I just went out and had the first beer I had in like 6 months. But he was stuck around like all his in-laws and just women in his house. And he's like, I just need dudes. So he was like grilling meat. So we were just, doing what guys do and just talking about the grill he was using while we're having a beer. Very,
awesome.
Very suburban there. But Pizza and Park Hop says, I've been to Jared's house. He lives in the lap of luxury. Don't let him fool you.
lap of luxury.
Listen, two young kids in the house. Listen, our house is spotless at all times. There's no toys downstairs I have to go clean up, or like my son is into that kid can tell you every planet in the solar system. So now he is like he makes Play-Doh pieces into like it's just full of planets all over downstairs. I'm like,
oh, I love it. That's awesome. Nice. That's really cool. I like that.
It is good, but all right. Well, I think
when your son gets older, we'll get him on the channel and we'll talk the universe, because like we all love this kind of stuff, the aliens and the universe and the pyramids and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Did he have a telescope?
No, I thought about for Christmas getting him one, because he got into it because like we homeschool our kids, so they had a homeschool day at Kennedy Space Center. And so my wife took him up there, and then that was like they were talking about planets, and he was just like, "I'm into this." And so now it's all like space and planets and all this stuff like that. I'm like, okay, get on board with this. So we were thinking about maybe getting him a telescope for Christmas that he could look through it. And
man, he would love it. I have a telescope, man, and I can see Jupiter. I can see its rings. I can see or not Jupiter's rings. I can see Saturn's rings, Jupiter's planets. Or Jupiter's moons. Oh boy, I can't talk tonight. But yeah, it's really fun. Like the first time you actually see one of the gas planets through a telescope, like that's your wild. Words are usually like, holy shit. Like it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
That's wild.
You can get a really inexpensive one for like $79. That's gonna do everything you wanted to.
I may do that. I think he would like that. Actually, for Halloween, my wife, he said he wanted to go as a plant, like the planets. And she's like, what does that even mean? And so she got him a black shirt and she printed out the planets and it's Velcro. So you can just put, like, he's the solar system and put the planets on him. Freaking kid.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Natasha said, what? Spotless? I have an 11-year-old and a 5-year-old. How? My 11-year-old likes to use his telescope when the planets are aligned. Oh, I was being very sarcastic. Our house. Sorry, I speak very fluent sarcasm. No, our house is it has moments of where it's not a mess, and then the kids wake up. And then you're like you clean the house when they go to bed and you wake up the next morning, you're like, oh, okay. Like as soon as he wakes up, like all the stuff's out, but it's fine. Somebody told me one time a messy house when you have kids is like a blessing. And I'm like, it actually is, like, it means Absolutely. I like to explore. Okay. Well, I think that's all we're already at 2 hours and something, so I won't keep you guys anymore. We hit some pretty good topics there. Before we go,
don't forget to play the AI though.
Yeah, I'm gonna play the AI video. Actually, we'll do the out here. We'll let everybody say where to find you guys, and we'll do the video there. So, first off, thank you for chat, everybody. Thank you for the super chats and the memberships and your interaction. We greatly appreciate it here. Orange Grove 55, as always, thank you for being here. Always a great time. And where can everybody find you?
Yes, thank you for having me on again, another theme park, and everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining us today. You can find me right here on Orange Grove 55, where we talk theme parks, studio, corporate. We even talk the universe sometimes. You never know. We dive into everything on Orange Grove 55 and also on Instagram, Orange Grove 55.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Slime Square, thank you for being here as well. Can everybody find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, hey, great chat, fellas. Really enjoyed it. Man, we had a fun conversation today because I really wanted to talk about the Comcast thing. And but yeah, listen, chat, you guys killed it. If you guys stayed through the entire chat, leave something magical and an orange to let us know that you stayed through the entire thing. But as far as where you can find me, you can find me on X at SlimeSquare84. You can find me on Instagram at SlimeSquare84. You can find me right here on Theme Parking.
Yes, sir. Oh, and Jay has when's Jay's movie coming out? I was going to mention that.
I think November is what he said. I'll find out for sure though.
Okay, but Jay Shear, yeah, really awesome dude. He's been on OG's channel a bunch. Awesome guy. He's got a new movie called Disclosure coming out. I believe it's November 1st is what he said on his channel. Yeah. What's his channel name again?
How Stories Work.
How Stories Work. Shear.
I do have a video. I'm going to put it up this weekend. We did a live stream. I thought it was going to be on that dual thing,
the collaboration thing.
Yeah, and it didn't show up on mine, but I'm gonna put a little video out. But yeah, he's got a movie coming out. It's about alien disclosure, which I think it's awesome. So be on the lookout for that. And all right, let's find this video and we'll play us out. So this is the AI compilation, which will change. I'll try and do a different one each time, maybe find some ones that people like. We'll play this, and then thank you everybody for hanging out. And we will see you guys on the next one. And here is a little compilation.
Buckle up, time travelers. Blast through the past, rocket to the future, and hang on tight as you chase the clock in the ultimate adventure. It's fast, it's furious, and it's only at Universal Studios Orlando. Back to the future.
Something's wrong with those kids.
They're watching us.
In the happiest place on earth, nobody's smiling.
Why won't they leave?
This fall,
The kids run the park.
not anymore.
This ride was open last week.
Why are they tearing everything down? It doesn't make sense.
They think closing the rides will stop it. They're wrong.
Stop the video! Did you see that?
Good evening. A new mouse-shaped popcorn bucket sent a local theme park into turmoil tonight when fervent collectors turned the release into a near riot. Security was called in as tempers boiled.
Hopefully everyone is ready for a great live stream that's almost as great as my paintings. We'll just make a few more happy little clouds together.
Hello, neighbor. Welcome to the live stream. I'm so glad you're here with us tonight. You know, it makes me happy to think that each one of you is my neighbor wherever you may be. Let's have a wonderful show together.